All right, welcome back everyone to the Qualified podcast. With me today is Todd and Kristen from the Valley Clean team. Guys, how are you today?
I'm doing pretty good.
Yeah.
I've got a bit of a cold, so
All right,
Yep.
hanging in there. Appreciate the
yeah.
time and being here with us today.
Absolutely.
Can you go ahead and give us a little background on yourselves? Where were you born? Where'd you guys grow up?
Go ahead.
Well, we're Alabama born and bred. I'm from the Shoals area, Muscle Shoals, Tuscumbia. There's an area near the Tennessee River in northwest Alabama. And
I grew up in Decatur, Alabama, which is about an hour east of where she is. And my father moved there he had a job at TVA. So that's where we ended up working for TVA in Decatur. So uh, after that, we moved around and did some stuff I'm sure we'll get into. But yeah, that's
Absolutely excellent. What's the best thing about where you guys live, in your opinion?
well, we've lived all over the United States. Big metro areas like Atlanta,
Vegas.
Las Vegas. We lived
Okay.
for a little while. We lived in Washington State, and of course in a couple of different places here in North Alabama. The thing that we love about the Shoals area is it is a smaller town, but we're very centrally located to the entire like Huntsville metro area. We're just a couple hours from Nashville, about a couple hours from Memphis, a little bit short of 2 hours to Birmingham, 4 hours to Atlanta. So we're very centrally located, and it's just got that small town feel, and a lot of history, a lot of music history.
Oh, yeah.
And so, yeah, that's one of the things we really enjoy about it.
hmm I like that it is, got two seasons, just, kind of hot and cold.
And then tornado season.
And tornado
So.
season. Yeah, there's that one. And so that's fun. We lived, as Kristen had mentioned, we lived all over the country, and different places and different vibes. Here, it's just very relaxed, and there's also there's always just a good atmosphere for college football. So that's a great one. We didn't always have that where we lived. So
Definitely love seeing different college football games and depending on what game is on and who the home team is, you could definitely see massive school spirit and
oh yeah,
Yeah, and even
more
in
so
home
than
decor.
oh
you gotta
yeah,
love it. I mean,
Yeah.
more so than some professional sports teams, which
Oh
is
yeah.
awesome.
yeah.
And we're what we consider a mixed marriage in Alabama. He is an Alabama guy, and I'm an Auburn girl. So
Uh-oh.
uh, somehow we've managed.
Yeah.
Well,
We
you
tried
kind of
to.
mentioned that the two seasons, hot, cold, and tornado. In Chicago, it's hot, cold, and construction. So we get
Gotcha.
construction all year round.
Got it.
One of my favorite questions to ask is when you were younger, what did you know what you wanted to be when you grew up? Did you want to be business owners? Did any something else?
Well, I've always wanted to be a physician of some kind. I started out probably, to the normal little girl things of pediatrician, veterinarian, stuff like that. I actually did pursue the pediatrician kind of thing up until I hit chemistry in college. And then I said, maybe I should stick with them talents that I actually have, which had always been writing. But I was very pragmatic, and I was like, I can't be a fiction writer or something like that. So I took this introductory to public relations class, and found that writing press releases and stories about people, and more like in the journalism kind of feature writing type situation, was kind of where I enjoyed that. And then one thing led to another, and as you do, you end up in marketing. And that's kind of where my career has been, had been for the last 15 years or so. So
Excellent.
Yeah.
Todd?
For me, I wanted to be a corporate trainer. So my kid vision at through meeting a few people who worked in that space where they would, do team building and trust falls and things like that. It was strange. So I wanted to educate and train people from a corporate standpoint, and because teamwork makes the dream work. But if you don't have teamwork, then you just got a lot of disarray and HR issues. So
Absolutely. Definitely different answer that I've ever heard for being younger corporate trainer, but it's
yeah. I mean, you can get into like to the astronaut things when you're little, but like when
yeah,
you're 16, 17, what do you want to do? And you look at the adults around you. My I do come from a family of entrepreneurs. We both do, but we, I guess, never considered it, that young for ourselves. We were always chasing, a different American dream, if you will.
Yeah. In fact, we probably were discouraged from being an entrepreneur just because of
How hard it is.
How hard it is, and it's like, well, if you can work for someone else, do it,
Yeah.
So yeah.
Now we know
now we know that
now we know that's not exactly true.
there's two sides
so
there.
then is anybody in your family business owners? Anybody you could have piggybacked off of, them teach you things, or
Oh,
was it more just do
uh,
something
so
else?
yeah, it was always do something else for us. Like even the business owners that that were family members. Like my grandfather owned a tire store from like still there today from 1946 when he opened it, and he was always just like go to college, get a degree, et cetera, et cetera. He was never like, and come work for me. He was never having you come over to burn the midnight oil doing payroll. So it wasn't discouraged. It wasn't really just talked about. It was more like, hey, go have something safe and secure versus take a risk and figure it out. So so we've done both, and we like controlling our own destiny a whole lot more than leaving it up to being a number in a corporation.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And that, I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to say, in my family history is, just kind of blue collar workers and hardworking people. And, I had an aunt and uncle that my uncle was an architect. He owned his own architecture firm. And I saw how hard he worked. And then also all the responsibilities that came with that. But then also, like my mother, she owned a small business, and she's always been, kind of a hustler, and like, this is the next big, not next big thing, but like I'm gonna, do this thing, and she's always been successful in, relatively successful in what she was doing, whether it's sewing. She used to make handbags, and she would go around to all the different festivals and all of that. She kind of did the house home party, ladies party booking and ordering kind of before that was a thing, I think Tupperware parties, but with purses.
Yeah. Tupperware.
And so she's always been very entrepreneurial. And then she recently retired, but the last, probably 10 to 15 years, she started and kind of grew her own, she's like, oh, I do alterations, but she's really a very talented tailor. And she can pretty much take apart any couture wedding gown and put it back together to fit the bride in a way that you would never know that it had happened.
Yeah.
So she did that for many years out of my parents' basement in town, and she was very well known in the area. And so, like, I just saw a lot of hard work and grind to be a business owner. And while I was not opposed to that, it, like Todd, it was just kind of like education was very important. Go to school, get an education, get a degree. Of course, I'm 40, and so I'm a little bit before kind of the when the talk of kind of popular society is today, that whole like, do we go to get a formal education? Do we learn skills? That sort of thing. So back in my day, sorry. It was still go to school, get an education, get a degree, and then go work for somebody else. And but that's kind of our background on that. So
I'll
Yeah.
be 30 in May, so I feel like I'm the tail
yeah.
end of that, being like, all right, still go to college, but
Hmm.
it started to teeter on maybe trade school, maybe something else, maybe entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
And it, Todd, like you
Great.
said with your grandfather, super nice that he still pushed you to continue your education, but didn't force you to come into the family business and be like, all right, you're going to go get your education in something
Mhm.
specific, but you're going to come back and bring it in, and it's going
Yeah.
to be kind of
Here's a 2 year
forcefully passed
contract.
down if you
We'll pay
didn't
for
want
college. You come back and work for us. That didn't happen, luckily. So yeah. Um, but when I was, to be honest with you, the year I was born, he actually sold it. So he
it. Okay.
retired in like 1976, which was the year I
Oh
was
my
born,
gosh.
and sold it to one of his lead sales guys who basically helped him build it. So that the running joke was like, I helped you build this and you're going to sell it to me for not for what, just, I'm building something I'm going to buy from you later. And I was like, yeah, I think you did. So that's the way it
Do the
works.
hard work and I'll take over.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But
And
that
it's
family will continue to run it, and
Yeah.
it's a well known
Yeah.
shop, but it still bears the Frederickson name.
Yeah.
And so
I go
and
by
they still own it today.
yeah, they still do.
they still own it. Yes,
Yeah.
their
So
family still owns it.
I'll walk in the. I remember this when I was a kid. I'd walk in the front door, and they would say, "Mr. Frederickson," and like all the customers and stuff, they would turn around and look, and I'd, feel super embarrassed, and I would say, "Yes, I'm here for my royalties check," and then the owner would turn around and like walk away. So just to mess with them.
They're good sports. So
They're good sports. Yeah, I was like, "You're going to embarrass me. I'm going to get you back." So
Nice.
yeah.
It's interesting now that with social media,
Hmm.
YouTube, TikTok, our kids growing up are going to potentially do interviews, maybe, and then they're going to be possibly asked, your parents, they were business owners, and kind of give these answers, and then maybe their kids will carry on, and then their response will be like, well, my mom or my dad blew up on TikTok or on YouTube playing video games, and it's like it's
Oh
just
God.
so
Yeah.
crazy how the last 30 years in technology has changed so much, and how
Mhm.
businesses
Mhm.
streamline things,
Yeah.
and now opportunities are endless
Mhm.
everywhere.
And as long as you have creativity or the ability to put processes and things together, there's really nothing you can't do.
100%. Absolutely. Background, you talked on going to college. You went to Alabama and you went to Auburn, or is those are just your preferred
Those are our
college
preferred.
sports?
Yeah, it's kind of like a state religion. You
Yeah,
just kind of have to choose one
when you're born.
when
Yeah,
you're born. Yeah, you're born
Okay.
into the family. So,
that's true.
no, I actually went to and graduated from the University of North Alabama, which is in the Florence area, or is in Florence, which is in the Shoals area. I went there. When I went, it has definitely transformed. I think they just recently got into like Division 1. It was like
Mhm.
Division 2 school for a long time. It has become a lovely campus. Um, but I went there. When I went, we jokingly called it 13th grade because it was a local university to our high school. And so everybody wanted to go off and, go somewhere else. And I didn't do that. I wanted to go to Auburn, was accepted into Auburn, and I was only 17 when I graduated high school. So I just wasn't quite ready to go off away from home yet. And so I stayed, lived at home, went to school for a year and a half. I was a freshman in high school when 9/11 happened. And so went through that whole day and the whole rest of that year. It was very difficult, just growing up and being a young adult in that environment of, it was really the first time that my generation had experienced anything so kind of traumatic and as a nation and that sort of thing. And I say all that to say that after about a year and a half at UNA, I changed my thoughts on staying at home and doing finishing out at UNA, and I actually transferred up to Virginia and went to school at Liberty University for a year. And it was a good change of pace for me. And then came back and finished up at UNA and went on from there. So
yeah. For me, I got out of high school. I had a choral music scholarship, so I would sing, and I didn't go to class because I was immature, and I lost that scholarship.
Oh,
And my dad said, "You can go to the military, or you can live in a box. You choose." And I said, "Air Force it is. Sounds good." So I went to the Air Force. Was in the Air National Guard, which is a reserve component of the Air Force. Spent 10 years in that. Uh, got out.
10
Went to
years?
10 years. Yeah. Went to a Methodist school who offered me a choral music scholarship, uh, and then transferred from there to MTSU, Middle Tennessee State University, where I spent a couple of years. Did not graduate. Went to go work for Comcast, made a lot of money, and just said, "I don't need that." So
Excellent.
that's the,
Well,
that's, that's the
thank you
big
for your
thing about
service,
working
first of
for other
all.
people.
Yes, thank you. Thank you again for your service. It's anybody who donates their time into the military is huge. So I know everybody appreciates that, and and I could relate to not going to class. Uh, Done that a time or two. Definitely kicked me in the butt. Uh,
Oh yeah.
Graduated high school by a hair on time. Missed
Same.
summer school, which is fantastic.
Hmm.
Uh, our the community college I went to for the first 2 years, it was like Kristen, you said, 13th grade for you. It was our high school name 2.0. It really no change, not much of a change at all. So it's funny how similar these things are across the country. No matter if you're in a big city or a small town, it's all kind of close. Going towards the business now. When did you guys first start
We
Valley?
started the business, the Valley Clean team, in November of last year, so 2022.
So a year in.
Yes, we're a year and 28 days in.
Why did you start?
That's a fun story.
yeah.
So I have always worked for other people, and I've always built businesses for other people. So, when we moved across the country and went from Alabama to Washington State, or Washington State to Atlanta, or Atlanta to Vegas, it was always for me anyway, to grow and scale a business that either need help to is, losing $400,000 a year and didn't have processes and systems in place, and employees kind of ran roughshod over the ownership, or to go and start fresh like I did in Atlanta and bring knowledge to that. So um, after doing those things, COVID hit. Entire company got shut down, except for the ownership, who just kind of ran on a skeleton crew and didn't really want to pay any executives to hang out. Sold our house at the height of just property values in the area, and moved out to family land. And I walked out the back door and slipped down a ramp and broke my leg, like
Oh my
bad,
gosh.
like
Airlifted.
airlifted break. It was fun. I didn't feel anything, but
Yeah.
it was the opposite of fun.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I'd always built a businesses for other people, so I could not walk or put any weight on that leg for 5 months.
Yeah.
So
He
I
was no weight bearing
yeah,
for 5 months.
yeah. So I had a lot of uh, elderly DME equipment that I wouldn't, have in the 40s, generally speaking, around. So I had these little scooters and walkers and stuff. It was super interesting. Anyway, so I was sitting down and, watching YouTube or something, I think it was YouTube, and I ran across an influencer by the name of Cody Sanchez. And Cody, it's a woman, Codie, um, has this philosophy about buying boarding businesses. And I thought, well, that seems pretty simple. I could do that. So I started researching how to make that happen and what kind of business we'd like to either open or purchase.
Mm-hmm.
From the content that she had created and the ideas that I got from that. Because all I had was time on my hands and a remote in my hand.
Mm-hmm.
But I couldn't walk, but I could use my brain. And so we began doing business consulting, and then started the Valley Clean team just a couple of months later.
Yeah, and to tag on to that part, we had been married about 11 years at that point, and in 2021, at the end of 2021, we had a baby.
Oh, yeah.
And so I was working, like I said, my whole background is in corporate marketing. I was working for a large local credit union at the time, in doing marketing and project management for them.
Mhm.
Loved my job, loved what I was doing, and we were very successful in what we were doing there at the time. And he had his accident. We had a 10-month-old, and so so that was in August of that year, and of 2022 rather. And then in October of 2022, I was unceremoniously laid off.
You were retired.
Well, yes, I was told that I retired. Me and actually one of our executive leaders in that department. It was a shock to everybody. I mean, it was the entire credit union. Like, I had people emailing me just like, what happened, and it was just a restructuring. There was nothing nefarious or anything like that. But no one knew it was coming, unfortunately. And so I literally came home that day with a severance package and time on my hands.
Yeah.
And
So I thought, hey, I got this great idea.
yeah, and he had been telling me,
What do you think about this?
Kind of like, hey, I've been thinking about this and that, and I just couldn't even, between the new baby, working, his accident, and with him not being, being immobile, basically, there was just a lot on me as mom and wife, and current provider for the home. And I was just like, I can't put anything else on my plate. I can't, and I can't give you any of the knowledge in my head from a marketing perspective. I just can't do it.
No, we were at the doctor's office, like, brainstorming on, names of the company.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just,
yeah.
That's literally like,
that was literally the only time that I had to focus on this idea that he had.
Yeah.
And we'd always talked about having our own company,
Mhm.
running our own business. We just could never get out of the comfort, of that.
Well, we always thought you had to, like, oh, I'm going to go to the bank and borrow, yada,
Yeah.
yada, that kind of stuff. And it's not true. You don't have to do it that way.
Sure.
So I literally came home on that October day, and I said, well, I guess I'm yours full time now. And so that's
great.
Literally,
we need a logo. Let's go.
Yeah, literally, a couple weeks later, I think we officially launched. Yep. And we had our first customer in December of 2022. So that's what we've been doing.
Yep.
So I play.
So I take all the operational knowledge and things that I did over the years as an executive leadership, and just books you read and processes and things you put together, and just and then basically I was like, oh yeah, I know how to do that. I know how to set up OKRs and SMART goals and stuff. So let's do that for our business and the people who work here. So
you're the first person I've ever heard that you were handed a surprise retirement.
Yes,
in those terms.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a lot of things that you guys have went through in a very short amount of time, and it just goes to show your resiliency. All that you've gone through and where you're at now is just a testament to how strong you guys are and what you can accomplish with a little bit of brain power, will, and somebody strong by your side.
there's a lot of prayer in there too, for sure,
Yes.
because we were
Absolutely.
falling apart, just, whether we talked about it or not, or whether we even realized it or not, frankly. So it's,
Sure.
it is very interesting, and it is a blessing.
Mhm.
So
So
even,
how
even,
much did you
even
guys, what was that?
the blessings are, I mean, it's all blessings, even, what we consider bad. We don't like it, but it's still good.
Yeah. So how much did you guys end up investing in the business when you first started?
Less than $5,000.
Very little.
Yeah.
We didn't have it to invest.
Yeah.
Between his accident, the move. I mean, we literally had just sold our house and set up a new home on raw land, and so I mean, we had just moved into our new home. Um, 2 weeks before he had his accident.
Yeah, 2 weeks.
I mean, we still have boxes. We had to have a friend come and help us just put things on a shelf because we couldn't do it. I mean, we just couldn't do it.
I was like, hey, I need that over there.
He would literally sit in a chair and just be like, can you move that there? And at the time, for the first 2 months or whatever, I was still working, so we'd send baby off. Thank God we lived literally next door to my parents, a brother, a sister-in-law, and a grandparents. Like, we moved to family land, and without family support and just of their time and energy.
Yeah.
I mean, my dad every week would come get our garbage can and take it down to the road, and he did that for almost a year.
90-year-old grandfather would come check on me and bring me,
food during the week.
The grandmother would bring him, would have him bring me snacks.
Yeah.
She does that for everybody. And then my grandfather on her side and he's like 90, and he just, need anything, Todd? He would just be great about it. Just
time, and
they live right over there, so
energy. So
they're having a real close knit family that close was very helpful.
Yeah, but we didn't have anything. I mean, we didn't have any extra cash. I mean, we didn't have anything. No. We could not. We weren't going to the bank to get a loan. We weren't going anywhere to do anything. We had the internet, we had our brains, and we had time. And I have to. I mean, we were just in a position where we had to.
Yeah. So we incorporated and did everything that we could, the cheapest way possible. And then figure the rest out, through, looking at industry professionals and what they were doing to run their businesses or start their businesses and make sure we had all the systems in place.
What did the money go towards?
They went toward registering the company, filing, all the different LLCs. It went toward brand development, software. We started with a program called HSA, Home Service Academy, by Johnny and Sergio.
Yep.
And that's where we got a lot of the information from to kind of do everything. So the majority of it went there, and then the rest of it was just like starting up this and setting up,
buying the domain.
Yeah, open phone account, whatever the case may be, to get all the tech working, and then from there it was, finding people who wanted to work and work with us and believed in our vision after we explained it to them, obviously.
Right. Yeah, and I would say that, I'm not a graphic designer. I'm more on the business marketing kind of strategy side of things. But I just made my graphic. I mean, I know what to look for. We do have a lot of, experience, and we just finally had to put our experience to use for us.
Sure.
And I mean, I use Canva, and, we didn't go an expensive route, for those kinds of things. No. Any copy that needed to be written for our website, I wrote it. The mentality that we had at that point was good enough, and we'll fix it later.
Yeah.
And
good enough is better than nothing.
Right, and we live a lot by the build the airplane while you fly it strategy. We've kind of had to, and
well, and a lot of my corporate takeovers we've done are the turnarounds. It's like you've got to build the boat in the middle of the middle of the stream while there's water running. So, and you've still got to communicate with the board what's going on so they don't lose patience with you. So,
and with my history as in both corporate marketing and as a project manager for marketing projects and events and stuff like that, you brought that part to the table. And then with his operational processes. That's his ball game. So we we talked a lot. We were so sick of each other that I was like, I'm gonna go outside with the baby, like, because you have to, and it's like there's no
Sure.
perfect time to start.
No, you
There
just
No.
got to
is
start.
no perfect time to start. We were
Right.
literally forced to start.
Well, it's like having a
Um,
conversation about when you want
so
to have a kid. It's like, there's no good time to have a child.
mm-mm,
It's just
do it
you
and
do it.
figure it
It's
out as
not
you go.
figuring out like
Absolutely.
figure out like, yo, well, we'll do it when we're debt free, or whatever. It's like that's just an excuse. You're just scared. Let's just pull the trigger and
Yeah.
let's just get this party started. So
And I fully believe our child, and then also his accident. I mean, I literally say we're Christians, and I was like, God put you on that couch because we just would not have done it.
well,
I
I don't
mean,
have like I've had to learn, a lot about boundaries and setting them between like work life balance and stuff. Where over the years I would be an account manager for a software company, and somebody would call with some problem, and maybe you should have gone to the help desk, but they have my number, so here we are. And it's 8 o'clock at night or midnight or whatever the case may be, and I'd always answer the phone, and which is great for an MTS score, but not good when you're trying to sleep. So,
and same for me. I mean, prior to baby, I would answer phone calls on vacation. We were just running the rat race. I mean, that's just what we were doing, and
yeah,
we were fine, but after baby came along, I'm super type A, I'm like, I want to do all the things.
I never noticed.
He's also very type A, so it makes it quite interesting.
Oh yeah,
But
boundaries once again.
but when baby came along,
Her name is Charlotte, by the way.
but I don't.
Here we go.
Aw, such a cute bow tie. She's so sweet.
Yeah, that was.
Yeah.
She was a few months old. She's 2 now, so
Yeah.
she's running all over the place.
Yeah,
But
she's a little bigger now.
yeah, but when Charlotte came along, I realized real quickly that the whole "you can do it all and you can have it all" is it's not super true. You can do a lot of things, and you can be very strong, but you only have so much bandwidth, and you have to have priorities, and you have to set boundaries with work and family and friends and yourself.
Willpower can be infinite, but time is definitely not infinite.
No. And so we both just kind of had a realization. I definitely did. And then, and then when he had his accident, it got real. And so we just, we said no. We're just gonna have to say no.
Yeah. The power of no.
Yeah.
And
And
there's
so,
a book like called that probably.
yeah, so we had many conversations of where I was saying, it's 5 o'clock. Like, we're done for the day. Like, we've got family things to do.
Yeah.
And that has been both a struggle and a blessing.
Sure.
To go against.
Yeah, there's an occasional time where I'm like, I just need 5 more minutes. I got to finish this last line item on this invoice because it's a corporate account.
I feel like it's okay if you're a business owner, where if you're on vacation and something urgent comes up, you got to take care of it. But if you're working for somebody else and you're either a C-suite employee, any employee where you don't own the company and it's after hours, where you should be with your family and spending time with them, relaxing, vacation, whatever, there's no need. Somebody else can handle it. It's not life or death. Even as a business owner, there are things that aren't life or death and can wait. But you are more inclined, because you own it and you want to grow it, and it is like a child. You want to nurture the business and you want to make sure it's successful.
I think the one thing we learned about that is, and that's completely true, but we have, good people in positions. And just because I get all the notifications, because, info ad or whatever, I get CC'd on it and I know what's happening, doesn't mean I have to action it. And
sure,
we have, people that we trust to accident, and I'll just look at the end of day report and make sure it's, taken care of. And having that,
Delegating is huge.
oh
Having
yeah,
people that can handle it and then you just oversee is key.
yeah, and you have to have people that you trust, and then delegate those low value tasks so you can focus on building what you're going to build tomorrow, or
Yeah.
expansion, or scalability, or whatever.
Yeah, and I
Going
would
back, like you said, being good enough with a general blanket of everything, but
Mhm.
hiring people who are pros in those
Oh yeah,
specific things is
yeah.
is what every business owner
Throughout
should be
my entire
striving
career,
for.
I had the Steve Jobs model where it's just like hire people that are smarter than you are. Surround your people that are smart, yourself is smarter than you are. And I know my weaknesses, and I know my strengths, and I know when I can stand in my own way or hold up something because I'm being too micro on it. Um, so you pay people what they're worth, and what they deserve, and have them help you. That's the reason we have you know marketing, or a VA or anything else.
Yeah. And I think being okay with okay is a huge part of it. We get, you know, we
Perfectionism.
get, yeah, and that's kind of speaks to me is, we get into that perfectionism spiral is what I call it. We get, lost on seeing the, success motivators on social media. We do want to grow and we are growing, but does it have to be at 50% month over month? Does it have, is that 1%, better every day? Is that okay? And it is.
Mhm.
And that's the thing, we would rather, have quality and have,
Mhm.
In all aspects of our life, rather than quantity.
Yeah, I'd rather have 30 5-star reviews on
Mhm.
Google than 100 1-star reviews. It's just
Yeah.
it's like, great. No, you got a lot of jobs done, but then nobody wants to call you back. That's not how we operate.
No, the 1% better everyday model is
Yes,
exactly how I
that
try to
happens,
be.
absolutely.
It's not leaps and bounds. That
No, you
one
can't
of the
just
interviews I
yeah,
just did,
switch everything.
it
You can't go from here to here. It just doesn't
It's
work.
not maintainable
No, and it's not even.
and sustainable.
No, you just need to 1%. Just make that habit switch.
those gurus, those social media marketers that are preaching nonstop that it's just grind until you're basically dead. It's not needed.
No,
There's
there's
softwares in place to help you automate. I mean, the
yeah,
AI now
work
is
smarter, not harder.
huge.
Yeah.
Yes. And they're pushing just work until you're bleeding out of every end, and it's not how life should be.
No, it's not the dream that I wanted to live,
Mhm.
and that we want to live. Um,
But we had to go through a lot to
yeah,
realize that. And,
Sure.
that was one of the things that I wanted to make sure we touched on was like, don't wait till you're in your 40s to finally, slow
yeah.
down and be okay with okay.
Like you can get out of high school and go to college, get out of high school, go work at McDonald's, or you can get out of high school and be a housekeeper, and you can make as much money as you want to because you control the schedule, you control you, or do anything else you want to in the service. It doesn't require like a license or certification at a particular point, depending on your state anyway.
Sure. So
We like
then,
to
what has been some of the biggest challenges you guys have faced in this last year being business owners?
Yeah, the biggest thing is just uh, finding enough people to do the work to the level and quality we want. So we operate off of a subcontractor model, and for us, we can't tell them what to do, obviously, or do anything else that would break that boundary. But we want to find people who stand behind us with a vision, who understand what we're doing, who we obviously pay well, and who can complete the job and do all the tasks that are assigned to them. Um, click the on the way button. Just follow the process, and people who have experience. So there's a lot with a lot of people. I mean, I have a massive spreadsheet with people who've applied, and only a handful of them actually have any cleaning experience outside of their own house.
Yeah.
So that's one of the major challenges is just being able to grow and scale and find qualified cleaners that will work work with you honestly.
Yeah.
So in order to solve that problem, we've done a couple of different things. Number one, we have our VA constantly looking out and handling, tier one, and I'm doing actually tier two interviews today for 3 new cleaners, or 3 new prospects for cleaners. Another thing we do, we're developing, through me and a couple of other business owners, we're developing inroads into like local community colleges and stuff like that, where people who are going through trade skills, or even like, pre-nursing programs and stuff, people who would be interested in that, and then teaching them, how to do those things in a constructive course manner, so we can, kind of build, give them skills that will help our business and also help them too.
Yeah.
So,
and I think one of the main things too, touching on the talent, fancy word, talent acquisition part of things, it's we really value that hands-on blue collar worker. Like when we started this business, that was one of our core values. Is like we want these people who are coming in and doing this hard work that requires attention to detail and planning and follow through and time management and all of these very, very highly sought after skills, but because they're a house cleaner, they're not valued in our society. And
we don't just run the business; we actually do the work too. And
we do. Yeah.
It's not easy.
No.
No.
Yeah, go see how much it takes out of you to go clean and mop 5,000 square feet of a hard pine floor. I mean, it's a lot.
Yeah. And so we wanted to make sure that kind of untraining that stigma is been part of it too, is like, hey, you can trust us. Like when we say, we're going to do this, this, and this, and we're going to pay you this. A lot of times that's a foreign concept, because we are not, we do pay well, and we do, have a pretty thorough onboarding and, things of that nature. So it's a different culture at our company than it is at like some of the other kind of more corporate cleaning type companies. So
yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Mm-hmm.
You both said you said that you were type A and Todd is type A as well, so you kind of butt heads. How does that play into your leadership style for the business?
As far as leading the face of the company, that's all Todd. He is definitely
Great face.
Do what?
Great face for the company.
Thank you.
Yes. He is
what they gave me.
He is definitely the face of the Valley Clean team. He does all the networking, as far as like formal networking. I'm a mom, and Charlotte is my number one. And so when kind of how it works between us is, I definitely have my opinions about things, but we consult one another, and then he takes our decisions out into the company. And so I try not to be directly involved with our providers. I'm not communicating directly with our VA. But we definitely make sure that we're on the same page.
Yeah.
And then he takes that into the day to day.
There's certain areas like, with her marketing experience, like we have a marketing contractor, a consultant that I've known for years. So I'll say, hey, Crystal, it's really better if you and Kristen just talk directly, text her, please.
Yeah.
And then y'all let me know what you want to do within the budgetary, confines that we've already set up, and then we'll say yay or nay and go forward from there. So I take myself out of that most of the time. Occasionally, Crystal will call and tell me. We did like a veterans giveaway for Veterans Day, and we did something where it's like, tell us a story about a veteran, and then like you can get a free cleaning, for that, and because we want to honor them. and to use their story to inspire people, right? And to you know, like like people from the Vietnam War, and my father was a Vietnam veteran. They were spit on when they came home, for example. So I make a point of it whenever I see somebody wearing a Vietnam veteran hat, like in Walmart or whatever, to go up and say, not thank you for your service or anything like that. I just say welcome home, and that's something that they're just like they didn't get. So it's fun. We enjoy that part of it. But we handle, that's how we run the business
Yeah.
together. And I give her reports, you know, and if I don't see a way to do something, or if I say, okay, well, this is, how we can resolve this issue with, feedback from a client or whatever the case may be, I'll just bounce it off her and say, do you see anything else that I'm not seeing here, or some other way to solve this that, that would be better overall than what I'm looking at.
Yeah.
So,
And sometimes he's just talking about something. And I'm like, hey, did you think about it this way? I've definitely, we just have conversations. I mean, we just, we're constantly thinking about the business, even though we're not constantly physically working the business, if that makes sense. So, yeah,
Sure.
we just talk about it.
yep.
There's plenty of
We have our lanes.
Reliance, yeah.
there's plenty of business owners that are sole by themselves, don't want a partner because they see they can make the decision and just go from there, don't need to consult, which is fine. If it works for them, great. But having a partner, not only do you separate tasks, everybody, you each do what you're good at, but like you just said, you have that partner to talk to and see, hey, I've been sitting at this for a couple hours, like what am I missing here?
Yeah.
Having that second set of eyes to come in and help you out is huge and helps get that success going more. And it's great to show and grow that business with a business partner, especially if it's your spouse.
Well, one of the things that I learned, there's a book called Multipliers by Liz Wiseman. And I've read this book 8 years ago. Yeah, 8 years ago. We were I was a CEO of a consulting company, and we consulted in the long-term care space. I went from senior account manager at a software company to CEO of a consulting company in the same industry, and I had no clue what I was doing, zero clues. But the owner had faith that I would figure it out and turn their negative $400,000 loss they had last year into something positive, just with the ideas and things that I had. So one of the books I read was Liz Wiseman's book, and you're basically getting people in the room, and they talk about like Mitt Romney or talk about other people, and they say there's empire builders, and then there's multipliers. So you're multiplying intelligence basically by having more brains in the room, as long as you're structuring that meeting correctly, but you're getting people's input. So it's always great to have more people working on a problem, and balancing that with how many dollars per hour you're burning in that meeting.
That's huge. Coming into something that you don't think you can handle, like you said, you had no grasp of doing that
Nope.
first time in, and taking on that challenge because somebody backed you and said, I have the faith in you, is huge. And that's what you guys did with the business. When all those hard times fell on you at once, you looked at each other and were like, I have faith in you, you have faith in me, we got this, we're going to do it, and we're going to kill it. And
as we got into it, it's like, well, we're going to build this for ourselves, but also build it for all the people who are at our competitors making $10 an hour, because it's worth more than that.
Yeah,
for sure. So how do you foster a positive company culture within the business?
So for me, it's through transparency, honestly. So I am transparent with our VA. I'm transparent with our providers, and we will just honestly have conversations. So we mentioned it before about just how we structure things, and we hadn't really gotten into our OKRs and goal setting and stuff. But um, we do everything together. So I will, ask their opinion and leverage their intelligence, and have them work together to think of ways where we can meet our objectives, because the objectives affect us and it affects them. So, uh, having honestly just good communication and being good people, and making sure they get paid on time, and letting them know that we're here and we listen, and that we listen to them and they listen to us, and um, it's really nice that way, because they don't have to and we don't have to, but we put our providers first, and that is, even the things I tell Michelle, our VA, I'm like, look, we can, say no to this corporate account, even though it's going to be a lot of money, but we really want to make sure that this provider is happy. And, if we can't accommodate this particular request, then we're just going to have to say no. And because the provider is more, it's more important to us than that contract is.
Yeah. We really, we really took a lot of the things that we just didn't like about the corporate world and kind of traditional business, uh, and said that when we did this, we were going to do it in a way that we could put our heads on the pillow at night and say, we did our best and we were as helpful and transparent and nice, as we could be, while also making the best decisions that we can for the people that we're supporting. Because, through the business that we started, we have, not only us, but, these providers that have signed on with our service to take on jobs that we've, created, from clients. And so if we just have a lot of responsibility and we take it very seriously, because we've seen providers that have started working with us. They're kind of, they come on, they're like, they don't really trust that we're going to do what we say we're going to do. They
Got to prove it.
Yeah, we have to prove it. And they come on having made $10 an hour, no control over their own schedule, no control over what cleans they take, really devalued and kind of like not sure if we're just making up stuff.
Yeah.
And so it takes time to get them to trust us, and we value that trust, and we value them. Because without them, there would be no the Valley Clean team.
Yeah. And it shows. I mean,
yeah, and to add to that, we say up front, look, we're not perfect, and that's not an excuse for us to not be or try to be perfect, and not be good people, make good decisions. But we also know they're not perfect, and so
they're not robots.
They're not He says this all the time.
Yeah.
When he's just even pitching to customers and try,
said it today on the phone with customers.
He's like, we're gonna make a mistake. We're gonna provide you with the best clean that we possibly can, and we have very high standards for that. But also,
we have a guarantee, and there's a reason we have a guarantee,
right? But I think it really comes down to just having some grace. Sure. Hey, we're gonna mess up. And if we do mess up as the owners of this company, we're going to sit down, we're going to listen to the feedback, we're going to listen to why you didn't like what we did, talking about the provider, or how could we make this different? How can we make this better for you?
Yeah. How do we miss that spot in the floor, and it's 10,000 square feet, and then we miss it 3 nights in a row? How can we figure out what can we change process-wise so that doesn't happen?
Yeah, because they're the ones there. They're the ones physically seeing the space day in and day out, and so I think just the honesty and just honesty, transparency, and just being upfront about hey, we're gonna mess up.
Yeah. So we just work with them.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't work for us, we work with them, and it's so far been very positive for us and them.
I like the way you put that they don't work for you. You guys work together. I love to say that perfect doesn't exist. There's no such thing as perfect, because with 8 billion people on the planet, everybody's vision of perfect is different. So
Yeah,
to have one encompassing word that will be end all be all, it doesn't make sense.
yeah.
So
Perfect doesn't
as
exist.
close as you can to the general perfect, like you guys said, there are going to be mistakes, things happen, but we guarantee you you will be happy with the end result.
Yeah, absolutely. And just like everybody has a different opinion of what a deep clean is. It means different things to different people. But there's a reason that we have a checklist on our website that's also built into booking koala. So there's consistency. So consistency from the sale through through the walk to the door and explaining what the scope of work is to the end and the walkthrough and then the checking off of the checklist. It's the same. So I
That
mean,
consistency is what built the business and what's going to continue to grow it as
Mhm.
well. Kind of
absolutely.
going back a little bit,
Mhm.
how are you handling work-life balance and maintaining that healthy relationship with it?
Yeah. I work 8 to 5 generally every day. And I'm in here, looking at different markets and different ways we can scale and we're meeting our objectives or not, and thinking of different ways to tweak them without, throwing the staff we do have for a loop. Um, so for me, it's pretty much baked into if it's 5 o'clock, I'm done, and it's at 5:02. I'm late to go switch to dad mode, frankly. So she's in the kitchen cooking, and I gotta look on the wall and see what the menu is, and if it's fish tacos, I'm happy, or homemade Pizza Hut pizza. She does that.
Ooh,
No.
that sounds good.
And so for me, it's pretty easy. Like we have to be flexible too. Like today, I didn't get started to work till 9 because she had to get up and I had to get her daughter ready while she was getting herself ready. So it's that flexibility of having somebody to answer the phone. So for the first 8 months of the business, I did everything. And I guess 8 or 9 months
Mhm.
as we're going through different VAs and trying to find the right fit from a VA perspective.
Mhm.
And so, I was used to having to be here and kind of landlocked to the desk with phone calls, emails, and text messages, if you will, from various platforms that we use. And so for me, now that we have somebody that we, truly trust, who understands what we're doing and can, always reach me via Slack or Teams or something, it frees me up to do what I need to do to help her, but also to switch gears and come back here and focus on the business.
Yeah. And um, those first, several months of 7, 8 months of, I had to gently remind him that we have an answering machine, an answering machine. We have voicemail for the business for a reason.
Yep.
He's always struggled with that. It doesn't matter if it's our
Yeah.
business or somebody else's. He's always struggled with the notifications. So, just leaning into the things that we've been trying to implement just in
Mhm.
our own lives for better, just mental health and all of that, and really making sure that we prioritize the things that we value. And I am singing to the choir. Like, this is super hard for me too, because he has to do the same for me. We're both, like I said, we're both very driven people, and we want things to succeed, and we want, we want to make sure that our clients, aren't waiting too long to get a phone call back from us. But also, I believe that if we are consistently unavailable after hours, if we're consistently setting those boundaries, that our clients will respect that, and that our
They do.
providers respect that, and they do. And I kind of take the approach of, again, we want quality, not necessarily quantity. And so, even on the client side of things, like, if a client is not respectful of our boundaries,
Oh boy.
I don't necessarily know if this is going to work, be a good relationship for us, because
Yeah.
we are not, you know,
I can count on one hand how many times players would come back from Clayton and says, I don't want to go back there again.
yeah, yeah.
And
And we
it's
respect,
probably 3 times.
yeah, and we respect that.
And I'm like, okay, well, A, tell me why. And then B, you don't have to because
It's
you're not
your
employed. It's your
choice.
decision.
Yeah.
I appreciate you finishing the clean. I'm glad it got done. You know, tell me what happened.
Mhm.
You know, and then we'll figure out what to do on our end. But you don't have to go back. You
Because
can know about that.
yeah, and because we want to identify the right clients for our providers. You know, we don't
Yeah.
want to just send them on
Anybody.
a cattle call, you know, out to however
Yeah.
many, you know, cleans they can possibly do in a day. Like, no,
No.
quality over quantity.
Yeah.
Like you
And
said, they're not robots. You're not
they're not
trying to
robots.
pump out like
I want you
stack.
working 6 a.m. to 8 p.m.
Yeah, they're going to get.
You know, with oh, I forgot to have lunch. I'll drink a Mountain Dew while I'm in somebody's shower. I'm sorry. What'd you say? No, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
Eat lunch.
And I think one of the things that we've learned is like we really have to look out for our providers. I mean,
Yeah.
no, they're not employees, but they're still
They're still
humans,
people.
and they're still helping us, you know, get to where we want to go too. So, you know,
Mhm. We're in the boat together.
We're in the boat together, and so we all need to be, you know, paddling the same way. So
Yeah, I got to make sure. Hey, you're slowing down over there.
Mhm.
Could you be dehydrated? Possibly.
Right.
You know,
Would you say that's the most important lesson you guys have learned in the last year is just the understanding with the providers and being on the same page as a team?
Yeah.
Yeah, honestly, because even if we aren't on the same page, you know, and it's just about it's about communication really, and truly, like Kristen said earlier, that's really getting them to trust us, but earning their trust.
Right.
That we're not going to, like a lot of people that work with us now, they're like, oh, well, I used to work for so and so and so and so, and they only paid like 20% per job. We do a 50-50 split, and
And our providers get paid more than
they
we
make
do.
more than we do.
You know,
After all the calls come out. So, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah,
I'm absolutely okay with that because they're able to get home, take care of their family, go to soccer practice, go to basketball, whatever the case may be, cook dinner, see their husbands,
or
whatever
they're doing.
yeah, and have a good life. I mean, I know how much they make because I can see the connect account on Booking Koala, how much went out to that person, and I'm like, you're killing it, and I really do appreciate it.
Yeah.
Because
It's a physically demanding job. It's not something that's to be taken lightly.
No.
I have a 850 square foot apartment with a dog and a cat, and sometimes that takes me all day to clean by myself, depending
Mhm.
on how long I go between the cleans. But I can't imagine how efficient they are at a 3,000 square foot home by themselves, if they are by themselves. That's all day, and then and them getting pennies for that. It doesn't make sense.
And part of our not onboarding, but like when we're doing interviews, something Kristen said when we first started was like, look, we want you to do what you like, what you love to do, but we want to do all the boring stuff. We'll take care of making sure you get paid. If there's a problem, we'll make sure that we address it. You don't have to have that confrontational conversation with the homeowner who is following you around telling you which rag to use because you're not doing it right.
Yeah.
Just step out, call the office, and we'll take care of it.
Right. We found out very early because we'd never been in the cleaning business. I mean, we didn't have any experience with that kind of stuff. And so, but just like every other job we've ever had, you just learn the industry and kind of do it while you do it. But one of the things we did learn was that house cleaners, residential cleaners, they love to clean and they love the satisfaction they get after they walk into a very disarrayed home and they leave and the client is super happy and the toilet, you couldn't even see it before and now it's sparkling white. Like they love that stuff. But they hate confrontation with the client. They don't want to spend, they don't like the marketing stuff. They don't like, how much do I charge and how do I figure this out? And they're perfectly capable. A lot of them have had their own, business, sole proprietorship and was trying to run a business and they don't want to do any of that. Yeah. I haven't talked to one cleaner who has come to us and said,
please,
please let me do all
let me
that
figure
stuff.
out how to do taxes and make sure I get paid.
Yeah. So
do I take checks? Yeah.
Yeah, so kind of our pitch to them is we do all the boring stuff. We handle the marketing, the getting the clients, the client management, the scheduling. They do not want to be scheduling everybody. Like they just don't want to do it. They just want to go in, they want to clean, they want to feel good after they leave that they help somebody.
Yep, that's a big one. So we like John and Jill. Yeah.
Yeah.
We have one of our cleans that, and it doesn't pay a lot, and it's like it's like 1,000 square foot house, maybe smaller, and the gentleman has dementia, and it was one of those things where like he was going to get kicked out of his house by like the health department if he didn't have it cleaned.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he couldn't come home. I think from
like the hospital.
He couldn't stay like the nursing home or the rehabilitation or something was like you can't safely.
There's a lot of rules for
social services wouldn't allow them to be discharged.
Almost a hoarder home.
It was just real dirty, and there's lots of bugs.
Okay.
So there's one of like the pest control guy came out and then killed a bunch of stuff, and then we came in, gave a quote.
Because pest control doesn't clean up; they just kill.
Yeah, that's true. So like we're walking like we're doing like L's and Nebos. The word. Knees and elbows like into like bed bug poop. As we go across the floor, and we didn't.
Wait. Sorry, going back real quick.
Yeah, sure.
I didn't know. Pest control companies will kill, but not.
Yeah.
Pick it up.
Correct. So they spray or put bombs off or whatever, and they leave.
And then
they don't come back and vacuum up the dead bugs or the remnants of them.
I'm sure there are some that would like.
The local one here does.
Yes, but most do not. They don't do that part. They're in the business of killing bugs.
Yeah, and a lot of the claims we have where it's like, oh, I've got roaches, and it's like, they need to be dead first. But yeah, so it's stuff like that. But our cleaners who come clean that are like they come back and say, look, I know it's not a lot of money. It's like $75 or something, whatever it is, and they'll say something like, my heart is full for helping this man, and that's what really matters.
Yeah.
And I think that's great. And then it's great for me to recognize that, but also for them to recognize it. And it's like it doesn't matter.
And we tell them again, transparency. We, look, this is kind of, this is not our normal clean. This is something that this person needs help so that they can live in their home.
Yeah.
And
he needs to be comfortable. He doesn't like people there.
Right.
He lives by himself, et cetera, et cetera.
And I will say, with our history, especially his, but also mine, working in the nursing home industry, even though we weren't like daily in the facilities and stuff, there's like a special kind of place in our heart for like the elderly and the people who need, and the nurses and stuff like that, but like the carers. So it's a weird kind of like
we like
parallel. Yeah. It's, because our providers actually help, and we get calls all the time from, the husbands and the dads are like, please come help my wife. Because we have 4 kids. And she works a full-time job, and I work a full-time job, and we've got after-school activities, and we just can't get the laundry done. And like, we can't.
You guys do laundry?
Yeah, and
yes,
we do. And and like, we just need some help, and it's like, absolutely. And it's like, we just need, can you just come mop and sweep my floors? Like, I can't get all the things done. And I think that's one of the things that as a mom and wife, like, I lean heavily into. It's like, I don't want to ask for help. I think I should be able to do all the things and do them to the top, to my standard.
Oh, you're precious.
Thanks. But that's just not feasible, and it's like, would you rather go to the soccer game and like
spend time with
your kids and your family, or nieces and nephews or whatever, and come home to a clean house?
Yeah.
Like, it's okay to do that.
One thing I say, and I say it often, and maybe not often enough, it's like, money can't buy you happiness, but it can buy you time.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's just like, we're talking about delegation earlier. It's the same thing.
Yeah, we have to.
You have to give yourself permission to do it.
Yes.
And not feel bad about it, because you can't do everything, to her point. You're not a superhero.
No.
Right. Even they can't do it.
As much as we both love Marvel, that we discussed earlier, we would love to be, but we can't. And the difference between a good provider and a great provider, in my eyes, a good provider is going to come into the home and do the job great
Mm-hmm.
and leave. The great providers going to come into that home and treat that home like their home and make it that, like you said earlier, make the homeowner come back and tell them how much they warm their heart and they appreciate what they did and they treated their home like it was their own and just went above and beyond. So those providers around the world, those are the ones that make all of us happy as business owners, as clients for them. It's not an easy job. My
No,
mom cleaned for years as well. So
it's
it's it's
our
simple, but
hiring is
it's daunting.
we go through our hiring checklist, but one thing you listen for that's not a checkbox on a form is do they have heart, right? Do they care? So we search for that in all of our people that we're talking to, and hire the right contractors and the right providers um, that get it, and they have it, because you
You
can't.
want to you want to have the business as cliche, as overused as the big corporations have used this term, like a family. You want it to truly be like your blood family, not okay, you did great, we'll give you a pizza party once a month and we're like family.
Yeah,
No, not it's you will if their car breaks down and they call you, it's all right, I'll come pick you up and I'll take you to the
yeah,
job or whatever needs to be done. That's
yeah,
those are the things that go above and beyond and show as a business owner to the provider, this company is here for you. It's not just another paycheck.
yeah.
Right.
I can think of I forget what happened, but one of our providers, I think they just did something just above and beyond for one of our clients. It was just amazing, and they got just a fantastic review out of it. So I think we bought them like Cracker Barrel gift cards, because it was like, so I called like the provider's husband and I was like, hey, what's their favorite restaurant? You know, and he told me, and so I mailed them and that kind of stuff, and they were just over the moon, because he didn't tell her, thank God, because I was just like, keep us to yourself,
Yeah.
don't tell her. So they showed with the mail and with a thank you note and stuff like that. So just we care.
That's amazing. Going more into your providers, how many office staff do you have, and then how many providers do you have?
Office staff, we have one,
Other than us.
other than us.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to think how many we have. I have to go look. So let me pull up booking call real fast. I'll tell you.
And then going into the next question, where do you do your hiring?
17.
And those are teams too. So 13 total providers.
Okay.
And
Some of those are teams, so right.
no, that was without the
Oh,
teams.
13.
I didn't count the teams.
Okay, sorry.
And where do we do? Where do we find providers? We find our providers on housekeeper.com, on Facebook, and a lot of the Facebook groups, and
Word of mouth.
word of mouth. Sometimes they find us, and then Michelle will direct them to our form that we have on our website, which links back to Booking Koala's hiring section. So we use one of those forms there to capture just general information about, are they interested in, working with us, and this is kind of what you get. Once again, it was good, not perfect in terms of the form creation. So we'll revisit that later. But yeah, so we find our providers that way. A lot of it's word of mouth. I'm always on the lookout for things to clean and people to do it. So I'm in Lowe's and I'm like, hey, I smell lemon. Let's see. Okay, who's in the bathroom? And I'll literally walk up and say, hey, I'm just curious. Are you guys, employees, or do you like a contract? And she's like, oh, I work with so and so. I'm like, well, you're doing a real good job. Would you, So I hand her my card. I'm like, call me if you're interested in, learning more or whatever. So I don't have any shame when it comes to that stuff. I'm just like, I'm a part of a business networking group called BNI, and the BNI guys and girls that I work with, I'm teaching them to look for dirty stuff and also look for cleaners. So not only do I, try to pry ourselves into their businesses and stuff that they own, but then, I'm teaching them how to look out for cleaners for us to hire, um, in their daily walk, but also look around. That ceiling vent in that restaurant is a place that I would not eat at, because it's covered in dust, like that bad. And, I know somebody else who has, inroads with the general manager. So I'm like, hey, let's talk about how we can help this person because they need it. uh, so I'm always, just
He asks a lot of questions. And that's not a bad thing at all. That's a very good thing. He's the extrovert of the relationship. I'm definitely more in my head and thinking about things and all of that. And it takes me a lot longer to kind of like, I have to be in like business mode to, if I'm just out with our daughter and like, yeah, I'm focusing on other things like what we're getting for dinner or whatever, but he is, no matter where he is, what he's doing, he's just, hey, here's a problem. Let me find a solution,
So you know how like you're out and you're like just saying hi to somebody and like, somebody's like, how are you? And then the general answer is, I'm fine.
Just go on.
Yeah.
So I won't do that.
No.
I will tell them how it's really going.
Mm-hmm.
So like Saturday morning, we had a carpet cleaning, and somehow the person with the key didn't show up, so I had to figure that out. And I'm sitting at Walmart, and the guy's like, "Hey, how's your morning going?" I was like, "Well, personally, it's going fantastic." I said, "Professionally, I've got to figure out where to get this key from." And he was like, "What do you do?" And so we got into a whole conversation of what I do, and he's talking about how his staffing at the Walmart Tire and Lube Center is awful, and so we had a whole conversation about what we do and you know how we keep our providers happy. And he was like, "Well, that's really cool, man. I'm really glad I talked to you." And then I'm like, "Well, hey, have a good day and God bless you." And so we'll talk about that too. So I do that all the time, and she thinks I'm weird, but
no, it's just, you're not weird. It's just not something I'm super comfortable with. So but it works, because like he'll be in a waiting room somewhere and he'll be having that conversation and then he'll be getting up to leave and somebody will be like over on the other side of the room and they'll just beeline over and be like, "Hey, I heard you talking about whatever. Like, do you do this?" Or like, "My sister, she's a cleaner and, like, do you have a card?" And like, so you just,
I'm a realtor. Can you, I need help. I'm like, "Oh, okay. Well, realtor sounds great to me." Like, here's your card.
I'm a property manager and we have all the, like, can you do apartment turnovers? And I'm like, "Yeah, absolutely." So
what's your schedule look like? We could be there tomorrow. Okay, great.
Whatever. So I'm a little bit more behind the scenes. I do a lot of like conversing in social media with like the moms groups and like the local, area groups,
buy sell kind of stuff,
buy sell trade, kind of those kind of groups and stuff like that. It's just because that's just what works for me and my personality and also my time. So I always have a kid with me. So, and we're moving and grooving, but that just works. This one works for me. So you kind of just have to find out what works for you, and sometimes you do have to step outside your comfort zone, and but yeah. So we just try to play to our strengths and go from there. So
my wife says I have golden retriever energy. I'm
yes.
I could talk to whoever. It doesn't matter. I will like you described, Todd. You're at the store. Somebody else is having a conversation in front of you. I'm not being nosy. I just hear it and you just go in and talk to them and a 2-second thing that you say ends up in a 15-minute conversation while she's standing holding the bags, giving me the death stare, and I'm like, okay, time to go.
I'm like, honey.
Yeah.
Like I'm like, oh well, I'm in the clearance aisle at Walmart, and a lady named Linda is there. Didn't know her before then. And I'm like, "Did you find anything good?" And she's like, "Actually, I think I did." And I'm like, "Oh, what is it?" So we just start talking, and then we end up talking about where she works in a nursing home, and we used to, consult for nursing homes, and that's a whole like thankless job in itself, and another business idea for later. But
definite golden retriever energy for sure. Yeah.
I like that.
I
I
love
like
it.
going to
I
this.
mean, it's the opposite of, you know, I want to be like that,
Yeah,
and it's just
it's
a
different than the humdrum energy over here.
Oh, after I don't know. I might have
Shots
to check
fired.
in on you later after the interview. You
She'll
might be
send you an angry text. It's fine.
getting in trouble.
Uh,
So you guys use the hiring portal in booking Koala.
we do.
How streamlined has that helped with your hiring process?
For us, it has helped us capture everything that is coming through. So instead of like having no process, frankly, whether it's the careers page, it's built into our website, which links back to the form, or when somebody calls the office or sends an email to like info at, um, we can just forward it to careers, and it uh, notifies us. I would say it's not completely streamlined. I could make it better to where it's attaching to a Google sheet or doing something else. But right now we just use the basic functions of it, and haven't done anything past that. But it has helped to consolidate all the different inputs into one spot. And then I can like copy and paste that into a Google sheet. And then from there, reach out and start scheduling, tier 1 and tier 2 interviews, depending if they pass tier 1.
What is an automatic red flag on an application for you?
They don't have reliable transportation.
Mm-hmm.
They can't
Huge.
take a background check.
Yeah.
What about before the background check? What if
they just, we ask them like, would you be able to like on the initial application, like if they don't have reliable transportation, that's the red flag. And
that
if
essentially
they
becomes
live,
an automatic no, because you can't take a bus and you're not going to be Ubering because you're going to
and
be
you have to
negative.
get further into that because it's one of the questions we ask, like on the form. It's like, do you want to make $25 to $55 an hour? If they say no, then that's a problem. And then number 2 is like, do you have reliable transportation? And also, what zip code do you live in? So we capture where they live, so we can kind of get an idea what the radius is. So we have teams that live in certain areas. So we do cover the entire swath of North Alabama and down to Coleman to get a lot of like lake properties and stuff like that. But I don't want somebody who I wouldn't want somebody who lives an hour and a half away or 2 hours from a job to be like, I'll take that one. And I'm like, probably not, just because they want it, and that's fine, but it's not conducive for them to to do it that way. So we want to know where they're at, and that they're not like applying through a different platform that's like, oh, I live in Florida, and I'd like to move or something. So other red flags when we go through like the actual interview process would be if
do they have any previous cleaning experience?
they don't have any, like
it's not an automatic no, because we do have teams, and like we are working to do kind of like building, career development, if you will, but like but that is something to kind of think about.
It's kind of hard to hire a contractor that doesn't have experience in the job.
Yeah, because it's just they just don't know what they're getting into. So.
Yeah, it's like they have to know what a deep clean is or a standard clean is, and like and it has, we have to ask qualifying questions. So if they don't know the answer to those things, I can't instruct them on what they mean.
Yeah.
So those are things that kind of knock out potential applicants for us, just because we want to maintain the model that we have.
Somebody who's not in the industry would look at this and be like, cleaning's cleaning. I can hop in there and do it. But if you would send that person into a test clean, more than likely they're going to fail it. And it's not as simple as they think it is.
It's really not. And the answer I get a lot is like, oh, well, I've cleaned my house. And I'm like,
it's not.
Well, that it isn't the same, because you don't use a checklist to clean your house, and you aren't
on a time constraint.
Yeah, we don't.
Yeah,
I mean,
we don't really care how long it takes, but like the longer it takes, like we can't take 8 hours to do a.
We're not in somebody's house after 5 o'clock.
Yeah, we have limits.
Weird,
we don't. We're not in. Yeah, like he said, we're not in a residential home.
We want to give you your space back because you're home from work and you want to take off your shoes.
Right.
Change clothes or whatever.
We're very cognizant of like for residential
We don't schedule things
Things.
after a certain time. All our new claims are in the morning, stuff like that.
Yeah. And also safety for our
True.
providers.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't want
We don't stay
them.
after dark,
Yeah.
in residential areas.
Right.
We do stuff at night in corporate areas, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So
So
anyway,
we just kind of have some boundaries for that stuff too. I love that word apparently today. I have said boundaries about 1,000 times.
I thought you were going to say quality all the time, frankly.
Quality.
Yeah, we have quality boundaries.
Quality boundaries.
Everybody's got to have their boundaries, and they
Yeah,
got to be respected.
So we make sure that, and it's like, a lot of cleaners are like, oh, I would love to take that 4 p.m. start job for a 3,000 square foot house. And I'm like, no, you wouldn't.
No.
You can't clean in the dark. You can't clean windows. There's no sunlight because that regular light don't work,
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't know that, then we should talk more about that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And it's, and then you get all the safety stuff too. So we try to, help them protect themselves, just by being good people, but also, imparting knowledge that maybe things they didn't think about,
Right.
Such as you can't clean.
Can't clean in the dark.
You can't clean in the dark. I mean, and when you do, you miss stuff because light is, sunlight's different than regular light.
Yeah. We have to educate our clients for that as well. Like,
True.
they think,
Yeah.
Can you not just come like
After I get off work?
after I get off work?
I don't want somebody in my house without me being there. And I'm like,
And like, what does it mean when, like, what should I expect? And, all of that. So we just try to make sure it's kind of an educational thing for everybody.
I do. My sales pitch is very educational.
Yeah. Very educational.
All the time. I'm like, I'm going to teach you how we do it so you understand
what to expect,
the quality of and how we're different than somebody else, and how we see things through consistently from sale to execution to follow up.
You having the background in the processes and all that is huge, because being a year in and again, going back, having the boundaries with the customers and the providers, and knowing that, where a lot of other business owners that are in this industry at a year in, they're still trying to figure that part out and knowing, should I do it, should I not? But you from the get-go, this is how it is, and we're just gonna politely figure it out with you. It's not
still hard because it's still your business. So you treat your boundaries, to your point, and like your contracts and stuff. Like, I mean, I've made mistakes, when I'm still hoping to get paid for it, but I doubt I will. And it's like, hey, there's a reason why there's a cash check option in Booking Qual, and there's a reason why we have integrations with other payment platforms, right? And the reason is because you want to make sure you get paid.
Yeah,
you want to have secure payment. And we very rarely take checks, but one of the things I would tell business owners, and we had this brand new massive apartment complex, and you look at the contract, that you sit down and they're like, oh, well, you need to have a $5 million insurance policy, and you have to sign all this stuff where it's like, if you have, and it's a general building contractor agreement they want you to sign. And I'm like, no, I'm not responsible for your air filter or cleaning off the screen on the back porch. So
I'm the contract reader.
You just gotta say no.
And I immediately, I'm like, nope.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't care how much money this is.
We're not doing this.
And every contract's negotiable. And if this contract is not negotiable, then
we're not going to be good business partners.
Yeah. So if you don't have the authority from your property management company to like take out this line item that doesn't even apply to us, I'm not going to sign it and be held to it.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Sure.
So, I mean,
9 out of 10 times it's going to be a nightmare within the first 60 days anyway. So
if they're inflexible, then those are red flags for potential clients. It's like, sure, you want the business, but is it really worth it?
Yeah, we would rather spend time getting quality, the kind of, so we are very early on identified the kind of clientele that we wanted to work with. And
excellent.
That includes, honestly, it has nothing to do with the size of the job or like anything like that. It has to do with like their personalities and like what they bring to the table, because we view our clients as partners too. So, it's not just about like, oh, well, this is a big job and we're going to go do it like because so-and-so. Like, no, like we've had big jobs and we've had small jobs, and both can be equally nightmarish if you don't have, the right relationship And set the expectations. That is a huge one.
Yep.
Like, you have got to set expectations with both the client and
Providers.
the providers, so
And then you had to deliver on those expectations.
right.
So
And the provider has to know, like, hey, this is what we're selling. And so, like, if I want to take this job, then this is the kind of,
this is the work order.
expectations. Yeah, this is the work order.
This is what I say. So you got to
Yeah.
make sure that it's part of the process.
Mhm.
Follow the process.
Yeah.
Follow it. Stick to it.
So if I say we're going to send you a text that says we're on our way, when we're on our way, and you hit it when you get there,
Like, that's not the process.
we got to make sure we're on the same page. So there's a reason that technology exists. There's a reason why that was built. And there's a reason why we do it. There's a reason why I talk about it, because nobody else does that. And, from our competitors' perspective, and that makes us different and unique. So I use it to be like, we're not like the cable guy who you have to wait 1 to 5 hours on to get there and show up. And maybe, because I don't think about it this way, but I say, hey, have you ever waited on the plumber and then you took a half day off work and it turned into like a whole day off work? I mean, how does that impact your business? Or like how your boss, looks at you or deals with you? That's frustrating. With us, you don't have to worry about that because we're on our way, literally when we're on our way. So you can come let us in. We can leave a key. You can do, whatever.
And we've set the appointment at 9 a.m. So we're going to be there at 9 a.m.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, we're never.
You don't have to guess. So.
We don't have any wiggle room on like the range. For us, there is no range. It's right there. I can think of one time we were late and it was like, like a state funeral or something. The interstate was shut down. So other than that, we're generally on time. But we also have to make sure that our providers are clocking in, clocking out. The system doesn't do anything weird. And so we can take a look at that for a recurring perspective and say, okay, it took them an hour and a half to clean this, or 2 hours the first time, or for this deep clean. What's it going to take to do it recurringly, so we can price the recurring, in going forward when we call it upsell.
Mm-hmm.
So
excellent. Are you always hiring, or do you only hire when you need to?
We are always hiring, honestly. There's jobs that we have to turn down because we don't have enough providers in a particular area. So, or maybe that one, the double coverage we have, doesn't work, or it's a later job. So things like that come up where we have our primary and secondary, but if you get down to the tertiary, you're just like this. So we put it in unassigned and then hope somebody grabs it, but we also actively call and say, hey, we've got this clean. Let's look at your schedule and kind of work with them without bumping everybody else around and making them aggravated. So we don't want to do that.
If it doesn't fit, don't push it.
Right.
Yeah. And it's okay to say no.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry we can't do it.
Yeah.
Or we'll have like a business owner friend who also owns a cleaning company like in Huntsville or something, and he'll say, but somebody else that does a real good job is, so-and-so. And, I'll call Justin and say, hey, here's a lead coming your way. And, I couldn't service it, but if you can, great.
Yeah. And one of the things too that we've kind of started is, especially in our area, because we do service the whole North Alabama area. So in the Shoals area, we don't have a lot of cleaners in this area. We don't have a lot of providers. So like one of the things that I've taken on is kind of like, I don't know, we don't even have an official name for it other than just, we're just training people to clean, so like I like to do the commercial jobs and stuff, like after hours, like after Charlotte goes to sleep, I'll be like, hey, I'm going to go do this clean or whatever. And honestly, it's nothing I ever thought I would be doing, but I took it on as like one of those things that was like, there's something that I need to help with with our company. And it's like, I don't know yet what that exactly is. And it turned out it's teaching people how to clean, so that we can have providers.
Just a little OJT,
Yeah, on the job training, like I'm kind of the team lead, and if we have somebody that we're like, I really think that they would be good, we just can't put them on a job by themselves right now. And it's like, hey, if you're willing to work with me, hey, let's see if we can get you kind of trained. And
give you the experience
give
you
you the
need.
experience you need, and when the time comes, then you can, you can kind of take on your own jobs. And we've had some good success with that. It's kind of on the job training for us, for me as well, because I've not trained other people before, so it's just a learning experience. We just kind of try to identify where the gaps are and what, put our heads together and problem solve.
So if you can't find cleaners that are ones that are on housekeeping.com and don't respond to messages or whatever,
that's a red flag. It's like,
I'm like, how long does it take you to respond to this?
How long does it take you to
are you responsible
email
and accountable or not? So we factor that into at least some of our, it's in my mind somewhere anyway, in terms of just responsiveness. But we do, have our little training program, so we can bring people along that have the right heart and just need the skills, to give them the skills that they need to do the job right. And they can, do it under their own, LLC, whatever the case may be, once we, once the time comes to properly, move them from training mode to, hey, if you're interested in keeping doing this is what you can do, and we can help you, so.
Yeah.
Sure. Now the complete opposite side, marketing. What are you guys doing for marketing?
So, I mean, between the Google LSA, and we've got some Thumbtack that's been coming in, and he can speak a lot to that stuff.
Yeah, I can give specifics.
Yeah, but as far as like marketing campaigns or like social media marketing, it's really organic. And we purposefully didn't want to kind of out jump our skis, because it's like we are learning, and we're learning the industry, and kind of like what did we want our business to be? And so we just had to really be patient and kind of like figure it out as we went. And so a lot of just hanging out, on social media. Like, I'm already in the mob group. I'm already in like our local like buy sell trade groups and stuff. And like we have a local group, and a lot of local groups are like, what's happening in town or whatever. I'm already in there, and so I just kind of keep an eye out for people looking for cleaners, or cleaners posting like, hey, does anybody need their house or business cleaned or whatever? And then if it's, looks to be something that, we need help in that area or whatever, I'm like, hey, if you want to talk more, like go over to our website and, or message us, or you can, pretty much send a smoke signal, and we'll, we'll talk to you. And
specifically, like, but outside of the socials and some of the organic stuff she was mentioning, like the BNI group is very helpful. But we basically, I don't think we did this on purpose, really, strategic wise, but it's like we make little influencers. So, like the person who won the veterans giveaway, there was only like the person who won it, and we didn't do this on purpose. We didn't like cherry pick it, but it has been known to happen for marketing people to do that.
We don't do that.
But
it has, for sure.
Yeah. So like the person who won it is like, hey, I'm going to, we're going to record the story. We're going to do this. We're going to get a picture from the service record. And then she's like, well, I'm going to go tell Ed that we won because I'm so excited. And then secondly, I'm going to go tell everybody. And she's in like every social media group and on every platform, in our area. So I'm like, okay, win-win. This is great. So not only is she happy, she gets to tell people about it, and we still get to use, the content and everything else for our purposes. And so that's just kind of, a happy accident, really, in that case. But we are just constantly, talking about our business and making sure we have good traction across our, our area, basically, that we operate in, whether it's through BNI or whatever the case may be. We're on Yelp and Thumbtack and stuff like that. So we're just maintaining let me use one of her words, a consistent brand presence.
Yeah.
I feel like Facebook groups are very underutilized.
Very.
It's free. And especially if you live in the area that you are running your business, big help. If you're not and you're doing it completely remote, it's tough.
Yeah.
because, the group
They might
moderator
kick you
might
out or yeah.
kick you out because you're not living there. So they figure you're going to push services or something like
Yeah.
that. But
Yeah.
You just gotta make sure you stay within the rules and don't be
sure,
a dude in a mom's group. That would be bad. Would be bad.
Yeah.
Um,
I feel like
Yeah.
a lot of business owners starting out think they need a huge budget for everything, massive website, all this marketing budget.
no,
You
don't
could
overthink it.
you could literally start $27. Call it 150, depending on how much registration is in your state for the business. You could $27 for booking Koala. You have your website there.
Yeah.
You could set up Stripe, collect your post in Facebook groups for free,
Yeah, sure.
and do the cleanings yourself for a little while until you hire somebody and you're rolling.
Absolutely. And one of the things that that Cody Sanchez talks about is look, you don't have to have equipment. Like for example, let's say we were talking about pressure washing. You go on and advertise and do your thing, set up everything for and you don't have to go buy a $5,000 power washer.
Mm-hmm.
You don't, and you say, okay, well, our booking method is 50% up front, 50% when the job's done. So when they book it, they it's a 50-50 split. In terms of down payment, deposit, whatever. Take the deposit, then go buy the pressure washer with those deposits, and then go do the job. Don't spend capital you don't have.
Yeah.
Right.
And my background in marketing, like I was really I was in business to business marketing, and we were really into, filling up that funnel and all that. But you can't, yeah, you have to sell something you don't have sometimes. Like you kind of have to do both. So you
Little fake it till you make it, kind of.
kind of, yeah.
Kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of. So it's, and that kind of is against my nature, right? So it's kind of have to lean into my training and say, well, I don't have this thing to sell.
Yeah.
I don't have this widget to sell.
We're gonna start washing awnings.
We gotta sell it in order to then make it, to then do it.
Yeah.
So it's counterintuitive sometimes to some people, and it is a little bit risky feeling, but
Yeah. But if you've got 20 awnings down Main Street
right.
that are dirty and there's nobody else in town to clean them, guess what? You're going to figure out how to do soft washing real fast.
Real fast.
Oh yeah.
And with today's world, you have access. Like effort is free. Okay, effort is free. You've got access to. Most people have, especially if you're watching this podcast, an interview or whatever. It's like you've got the internet. Ask questions. Talk to people. Whether that's, picking up the phone and calling them, or and then instead of scrolling TikTok on looking at funny videos, which I do definitely support that. But manage your time, learn something, how do you run a business? How do you do the thing?
Market for free?
How do you pressure wash? How do you clean? How do you professionally clean? And you'll eventually kind of make your own kind of list of things and how you like to do it and what works best for you and your clients and, that kind of thing. But you've got to learn it first, jump off the cliff.
Yeah.
You hit the nail on the head. That's the one thing I preach is, how are you going to bring somebody else in to do something if you don't know yourself?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, again, you could hire out, and if you have that time and money to hire somebody to get it done, great. But when you're starting a business with 0 to no capital and you want to move quickly, the best way is learning and doing it yourself.
Yeah.
Until you can get somebody.
Learn to code.
Yeah.
For sure. So what's the
have a vision and learn to code?
What's
the most successful marketing campaign you guys have had so far?
So we really haven't run any campaigns, to be honest. We, like I said, we did not want to grow too fast, and we didn't want to have more clients that we could service, and we wanted to make sure we had our ducks in a row, so to speak. So we've really just grown organically. We are definitely in 2024 looking we are definitely in 2024 looking to be more kind of structured in that area. But we wanted to make sure that we had our foundations down first. You know, we didn't want to look like we didn't know what we were doing, even though we sometimes don't know what we're doing. And so, uh, yeah, we haven't run any
The most successful
specific
campaign that I can
campaigns.
think of was going to be the veterans one because it got the
Yeah,
most reach,
Okay.
honestly.
yeah,
So the veterans and put together to attract people to submit nominations. In terms of interactions and impressions and things of that nature, that's the most.
hmm
I wouldn't consider that a campaign.
No, it was not a campaign. It was
So
just
she's being very
I'm being very
she's very
marketing-y.
marketing black and white over here. But yeah,
Yeah, we had an objective that we wanted to reach, and we put together something to reach that objective. But I would not. Yeah, it wasn't really.
yeah. And like the next thing is like we have our year anniversary for our company, so it's like we're going to be giving away more cleanings, and so we have certain things that are going to be structured for like current customers, not just new customers, and then stuff for people who aren't customers. So and we've done both of those. We haven't publicized them yet, but we've taken our first customer we ever had and said, hey, guess what? You get a free month of cleaning on us, and would you please tell us how what kind of impact we've made on your life in this past year that we've been cleaning for you, if we haven't made an impact? Because her and I are friendly, and I call her and tell her, hey, we're going to be coming tomorrow to clean your house, and she's like, oh, it's you again. Okay, so she gives me crap, but it's fun, and
But she stuck with us,
yeah.
and and that's the thing too is like just be. This is a little off subject, but be honest with your clients. Just be like, hey,
Yeah, they're
like
people
up
too.
front, we were like when we first started, we were like, hey, you're our very first clean. So
Yeah.
if you don't mind, like, can you give us some really good feedback? Like, get their buy-in, make them part of your success, because they don't want to feel like a number. They don't want to feel like,
Yeah.
I'm just another.
You've got 3 Google reviews, and
Yeah.
I hope
So,
you're good.
Yeah, but like you're taking a chance on us, and so let us help you help us. So
Okay.
it worked. It checked.
Okay, making sure.
That's huge. We posted something on the Book and Koala social media recently that was literally to that point is give back to your customers, and once a month, maybe once every couple months, or you guys did it after 1 year in, you went back to your first customer and were, here's a month of cleans. You gave back.
The idea from reading your post.
Yeah, you gave back, and it comes back into you guys, and it shows that you care for them, and it gives you, like you said, that insight into how could we do better, and thank you for sticking with us.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes. I mean, I'm a huge proponent of building your own fan base. It's like these are the people who've stuck with you.
How do you make your own raving fans?
Yeah, exactly. So
how do you get your own Alabama or Auburn fans?
that
good colors, beer, hot dogs,
a friendly rivalry.
A rivalry. That's a good one.
Friendly rivalry.
Sure. You're in the background actually working together just to drive more business to each other. Co-owned by some conglomerate you don't talk about. Thinking out loud.
So you mentioned networking earlier. How is networking playing into your marketing efforts?
It's huge.
It is. I talk a lot, so it works out well.
I couldn't tell.
I don't know.
Yeah. It's huge. I mean, we really we really just want everybody to be successful, including ourselves. Like we literally we don't look at like competitors in the way that like maybe people think you should. I don't look at other businesses as somebody that are in the same industry as us as that like competitiveness in the way that like, well, I don't want to be associated with you. If it's like we would rather work all together in order to raise everybody up as opposed to knock somebody else down in order for us to gain success. So, um, between networking and knowing, who these people actually are and not just the name on the sign out front or whatever, that's really important to me. And then he just likes to talk, so he just talks to everyone.
There's always a purpose.
But
It's the golden retriever energy we're going with.
Yeah, I'm telling you. Like when I joined the BNI, it was like, hey, I think you'd be really good for this, and I'm like, okay, well, and it's helped with public speaking. It's helped with developing a pitch. It's helped with time management, and I'm like the education coordinator for our group, so that's great. So I do network education about like leveraging your time and leveraging your systems and leveraging your energy, and there's nothing new under the sun. So I just take something I found and I tweak it and make it better. So I don't usually create anything new from whole cloth.
Not reinventing the wheel.
No. And you got to know your audience, and you got to know, who you're talking to and who your customer base is. Like, for instance, because we cover the entire North Alabama area, and the reason we do that is because there's tons of people that live in the Shoals and drive the hour and 15 minutes to Huntsville Metro to work every day. There's people that have grown up here and live in the Metro, vice versa. So it's just very integrated across North Alabama. And we're kind of unique in that, I think. Like, I don't really know, like, nowhere else that we've ever lived is like that. I mean, even in Atlanta, we were very, like, segregated in the suburbia versus like the city and all that kind of stuff.
You lived in Sandy Springs, you didn't know anybody who lived in Alpharetta.
Right. Those were two different worlds. It's not like that here. It doesn't seem to be that way. But.
And so I'll go and do the commercial stuff, or go and do the commercial quotes. Go to other BNI meetings, use their Facebook groups and stuff like that for networking. But it's always good to know what you're going to say. So my wife gave me pitch cards.
I did. Yeah.
So, yeah.
But like messaging that works here in the Shoals doesn't necessarily work in the Huntsville Metro. They're just a different. They're very. It is the fastest growing, or is it the fastest growing city in Alabama? I think it was just named like number 1 or like best place to live for like 2 years in a row for the World Report. I mean, so it's a huge technology. We've got
technology
NASA,
and
defense. So there's a lot of growth in that area, and so there's a lot of people coming from out of the area into the Metro and all of that, and so you just have to know who you're talking to.
Yeah, they're not locals, generally speaking. They're people that transferred from like Colorado or Wright Pad or
and
whatever.
so those messages are, hey, you're moving into your new place. There's tons of new builds and construction growth and all that kind of stuff over there. Over here, we're a little slower. We're a little small. We are a lot smaller than Huntsville, but it's just a different vibe, right? And so you don't want to come at them in the same way that you would come at the people that live in the metro area. So it's just knowing your audience and knowing who you
so
are.
if we were to do like paid advertising through Facebook or Yelp or something like that, we would definitely have different messaging for those areas.
It's like going into a local Facebook group. You're not going to be putting what you would blast as like a sponsored post on Instagram or a general Facebook ad. It's going to be more, I would say, almost friendlier and kind of just warmer in a sense to connect more with the group.
I mean, everybody's going through something. So like whenever somebody calls me and they're like, Todd, I'll say, thank you for calling the Valley Clean Team. This is Todd. What can I get clean for you today? Something like that. And all they want to know is how much it costs. Well, I'm not going to tell you that in the first 10 seconds. So we can just hang that up. But I want to know why you're calling me, because there's a story. There's always a story. And if you listen, you can hear more of the story. And the biggest thing for me is just listening.
Mm-hmm.
I know I talk a lot, but I do listen. Good salespeople listen, basically.
Absolutely.
So in that respect, whether it's I'm in town because my dad died and we're having to get the house cleaned up for the wake or whatever, stuff like that, or I'm moving, So if you listen, you don't have to repeat questions like, "Now, what kind of clean do you need?" I just said I was moving, so
Mm-hmm.
well, that sounds like it'd be perfect for our move in, move out, cleaning package. Let's go through that, et cetera, et cetera. So,
If you're just starting out and you're not comfortable as everyone might be on the phone, you might fumble that a little bit, which is fine. But just like you said, listening
mhm,
and not getting ahead of yourself
mhm,
with customers is going to go a very long way.
Mm-hmm.
Going a little bit more into the revenue side of things, it's
mhm.
coming up on your first, well, you just passed your first year. This is
Right.
going to be your first full calendar year. How much revenue have you guys done this year, or are you expected to close out?
Yeah, we're expected to close out probably 250,000 is our projection right now.
Wow, guys, that's
That was our
that's
goal. So we're
fantastic.
we're if I look at the booking quality report, it's right below that. I know it projects to the end of the year, but then that doesn't include any new sales between now and then. So we're shooting for 250. We're at 2 plus now, I think.
That's amazing. Congratulations, because first year in, those are big numbers. That's huge.
And
That's
we don't
not,
we don't really know. We're just if when you look at Facebook groups and whether it be the professional cleaners group or even the booking koala group, it's just like people are asking all sorts of questions and how to price their services hourly and stuff like that. Which those are things that we struggled with early on,
Mm-hmm.
um, just to kick around. But uh, we're just very blessed to be where we are, and it is. I mean, we're just thankful.
Yeah.
absolutely. Your backgrounds helped, obviously, but I
Yes.
feel like more than anything was the drive of your 1 year period of all the
Mhm.
things that we talked about in the beginning that happened, your accident,
Yeah.
your forced retirement, the birth of your daughter, all those things added up, put that fire under you guys, and it pushed you to be like, we need to make this work as best as we can. And you
Absolutely.
guys took
Yeah.
everything and executed it perfectly.
No.
Thank you.
Besides revenue,
Those are pretty kind words. Thank you.
Kind words.
of course, but revenue aside, what metrics do you guys really try and hammer down and track?
Yeah, so I do have, you know, being a super nerd who talks a lot, we have a mix of metrics. We measure on our client satisfaction, obviously, so our CSAT, our generally NPS. We measure repeat business in terms of like, can we take that one time clean as long as it's not like a move out and they're moving out of state or something strange, and turn that into repeat business. So we look at that. Um, we have goals to grow our Google results from, like 35 stars to 105 stars. So we're focused on that. But how we do that, I don't know if you've heard of this book. It's the four disciplines of execution. You,
I have.
so
Haven't
in
read it, but I've heard of it.
Yeah, so they talk about like having a wildly important goal. So we have one, two, three, four wildly important goals that we're focused on in different areas, but they're basically expansion related. Um, so we have deliver world class customer service, skyrocket growth, recruit the best cleaners, and then expand into 2 additional cities, within the next I think 6 months. So in that, there are certain KPIs we're measuring that will then lead to that. So those are the things that we set from the top level, if you will. But then the rest of the team, whether it be marketing or our office staff or even the cleaners themselves, can collaborate together on how to take that top down push to measure the lead inputs they're doing every day instead of measuring just like, oh, what was our revenue at the end of the month?
Yeah.
Well, it's already happened.
It's already happened.
You're looking at lag measures, right? So we look at lead measures and lag measures in those areas to make sure that we're reaching a good NPS score. We're reducing this client response rate in our systems. So if somebody pings us on a Saturday, we don't get to it till Sunday at noon, for example. How can we fix that? Okay, well, let's, instead of me getting the text message and responding to it on a Saturday while there's college football going on or something, we'll institute bots or integrate to an AI or something so they have a response and can book and feed it data. Create a robust hiring strategy. Complete our quarterly engagement surveys. So we have making sure our people are engaged and that they're happy is like one of the big things. But then evaluate solutions for streamlined hiring. So like booking koala is one of those to streamline our hiring process more because it is arduous because we do take a lot of time to do it. We don't just want to, suck in a bunch of resumes and then spend a bunch of time, that we tend to spend someplace else. And some of it's like just documentation for how we're progressing on VAs and making sure we have good FAQs and stuff to answer all our questions and things that come up, so we can be involved in the business and whether I want to give it a bear hug that day or if I want to like take a break and just set it over here and I can understand it's working properly from the end of day report. So we measure quite a few different KPIs, and then we have the different lead measures that the teams come up with that we document that push those up. So like if I want to get to a lot of reviews, which are vastly important across multiple platforms, then how am I going to do that? And I can tell them how to do it, but it's really valuable to us that they figure it out on their own and they have like an inception moment and they have accountability between team members that they are achieving that and asking themselves, what is the number one thing I can do this week to grow our results in this group for this goal? So that's what we do. It's not perfect, it won't be, but it's good, and they seem to like it, and it's grown it from 28 reviews to 36 reviews in the last I think 2 weeks. So.
And we're
Right. I mean,
Yeah,
as long as going back 1% better every day. You got those reviews coming in 2 weeks. It's big. It's momentum going forward, and it just gives you the drive to keep going and being like, all right, we're getting closer. Another one is closer to that 100. Another one's going to be closer to that 100, and then once you hit the 100, now it's going to be 200 or 250 or whatever it may be, and then expand to the next city and start the process all over again.
Yep, that's one of the operational OKRs is like expand them to additional cities. Okay, well that requires a lot of research, and I do that every day. Googling this and making phone calls and asking what the pricing is on square footage and writing that down and seeing if it's a go or a no go for that particular metro area. So it's fun though. It's like a game.
Yeah, and then if I'm constantly, I'm aware obviously too of like of our goals and things of that nature. I don't do that micro day-to-day stuff, but I'm constantly have my eyes open. If I see a friend say something or text me a question that somehow randomly relates to something that we're, I ask more questions. I send him information. If I come across a news article, that has to do with, growth in a particular city that we've been talking about expanding to, like, hey, let's talk about that, so,
hey, they're building a new bridge. It's going to cut off this section of town. How will that affect X, Y, and Z? It's like, okay, let's think about that. So, or the team where she went to college is now in Division I. They just got a $4 billion investment to build X, Y, and Z, and then that's going to make this property value go up. And where can we go ahead and get ahead of that? So stuff like that. So her and I have like this good problem solving. Where we have a problem, we kind of attack it from all these different angles. Or just see which one's the weak point, if you will, to get into this, for example. and we look at things, laterally. So I'm a lateral thinker. So I'm looking at a problem, and I'm looking like just right to left to see what all it touches and how we can, influence things to win, honestly, and and win for us and win for everybody that we would care about anyway. So not everybody, there's got to be losers.
There's a limit.
Yeah, if you're a loser.
Going back to that earlier of keeping things separate with
Yeah.
business and personal life,
Yeah,
gotta
exactly.
gotta have the balance.
It is.
Planning for financial planning. You guys, started the business because of a bunch of things snowballing at a very short amount of time. With that impact, how do you go to now approach your financial planning going forward with the business and everything in that sense?
Well, specifically, we don't take a lot out of the company to pay ourselves with. We have changed. It's interesting. As soon as you get laid off from a job and you go from like making, a six-figure income, mid six figures to zero in a day, that's kind of a wake-up call for, oh, well, you make more money, you spend more money. So let's just change our budget. So one of the things that we're doing from a financial management perspective is, we are living lean personally and professionally. What's that guy's name?
Ramit.
What's his last name? There's a book called I Can Teach You to Be Rich.
Yeah, I Can Teach You to Be Rich.
And it is about, and he's funny in the whole book too. So it's like some of the Dave Ramsey principles, but not as strict.
Yeah. The psychology of it is
different. The psychology is different, basically. So that
it's not ramen and peanut butter and jelly sandwiches every day.
Yeah, it's not that.
Rice and beans.
Rice and beans. Yeah, in Alabama. Jeez. So it's do the things you love, cut back where you can, and then it's like for him, it's like I like to travel and have appetizers. So he just lets himself have those things. He doesn't like.
Yeah.
But it's like, hey, do you need that PlayStation subscription? Yeah, probably not.
Yeah. So we really, I didn't mean to cut you. So yeah, we've really changed the way that we live.
We do everything. And then we to your point, we plan, future forward looking, and everything that we're doing business wise and financial wise. So whether it's a lot of, a lot of different buckets where the money sits, and for future planning and taxes and all that kind of stuff. But always got to pay the tax man.
Yeah.
They're the first one coming with their hand out at the end of the year.
Nowadays.
Oh yes.
So we that's what we do. We just try to do it smart and frugally.
And I guess that kind of answers my next question: is strategies you use to manage your risk is the same principles.
Yeah, I mean, we don't have all our eggs in one basket, obviously. We are part of our growth pattern. We're looking, not only this business, but we have other very good ideas in the hopper that we can that are not cleaning related. So we like to diversify our income streams to put it in a fun business way. But in this particular business, we like to, and something Johnny O and Johnny and Sergio talked about is like, hey, most traditional businesses will be like, hey, I'm doing real good. Let's put more money in marketing. No. Capture everything down you're doing. Have that playbook, which I'm looking at on this other screen right now, in Notion or wherever you keep it, and rinse and repeat.
Yeah, don't reinvent the wheel.
No, take the wheel you already have that's working, and just say, hey, go into a different market.
Yeah,
and then
just
build the same thing you've done again. So as we get something humming along, we're always looking at scalability, and our biggest risk is honestly finding good people to do the work that have the heart, right? So I'm not worried about disposable income and people not having services that they they need and stuff like that. In our neck of the woods, we have set ourselves up to bypass that for the most part, um, and go into sectors that are recession proof or otherwise.
Yeah, slowed down by the recession. So
Yeah.
I love that you guys don't go and get that success and then and take the revenue and go, well, I saw somebody posted in the Booking Qual community group that they're killing it with this marketing strategy. So, oh, we got 5 extra grand. Let's dump it in there, because depending on where you live, I've said it time and time again, all marketing strategies aren't going to work the same in every single place.
Nope.
Yelp might work in Chicago, but it's not going to work in Florida. And SEO,
but nobody uses Nextdoor in Alabama.
mm-hmm.
Right, exactly. So you could have gotten that extra 5 or 10K in revenue, and you lost it in 2 weeks by reinventing the wheel and trying something new. Whereas, just do what you know. You've gotten to this point already. You're successful. Keep doing what you're doing, and don't get ahead of yourself. Don't try and outsmart yourself by being like, well, works for them, I'm going to do it. You know what works for you. You got to this point by yourself or with strategy that you've learned. So keep on the path and don't deviate from that, because you're just going to derailroad your success.
Yeah. You're only going to hurt yourself if you do that.
And one thing that we do is we take calculated risks. So let's say we want to try a new marketing strategy or whatever. We take a small portion of our entire marketing spend and we put that aside to say, okay, well, when that random idea comes up or this new thing comes up, like, here's a little bit of money that we already know is allotted.
Oh, like a sinking fund.
Yeah, like we already know that, like, this is our fund money, and we're, and so it's like it could be as little as $100, but just depending on your overall scope of things. But like, you don't just dump everything into the new thing. Like you keep doing what's working and you tweak that and you optimize that. But then you take this little fun thing and be like, well, if it doesn't go well, then no big deal. We haven't lost.
I got a good example of that. Yeah. We went into a realtors association. Mm-hmm. No other cleaning companies, part of the realtors association at all. And as part of being an affiliate member of the realtor association, you get access to every lockbox that's every house that's for sale. So you can just walk in. There's no, hey, realtor, can you meet me at so-and-so's house to clean it, to get ready for pictures? So you are ahead of the game, and you've already taken out like a barrier, if you will, or an annoyance for the realtor to stop doing something else and making flyers. Plus, we get to go to their conferences, and we have, we sponsor newsletters or whatever the case may be. But that gives us a leg up on our competitors, because there's no other one doing it. So then when we are in those meetings and they're all realtors and they have, housing market go boom, boom, I can say, hey, absolutely, we can go ahead and do that. And we already have our own master key to every property that's on the MLS. And they're just like, oh, you do? That's great. And that's not their money. Mm-hmm. It's their client's money. Mm-hmm. So it's even easier to say yes.
Yeah. And it was a small amount membership fee that we were just like, well, if it just doesn't work, then it's just a couple $100 or whatever.
And they're like, that's really smart. Do you know any painters who do that? I'm like, no, I don't know any painters. Sorry, but I'll find one.
It's going back to what we were talking about with marketing. It's the channels that you might just overlook because you're like, it's not the main things. It's not paid ads. It's not SEO. It's not email marketing. But it can work if you just give it time and try it. And like you said, it was a membership fee of $100.
Yeah, sure.
What ad campaign is going to cost you? How much reach are you going to get for $100? Little to nothing, and you won't get any data out of that.
Right. And
significance.
What are you measuring that reach with? And reach is, it's subjective, right? So it's like, I want to know how many how many actually closed deals I got to, what I'm influencing from that particular, conversation I'm having with the chairman of that committee, and how that's rippling down in training sessions to their agents. I mean, those people are being trained all the
Absolutely.
time, all these sorts of CEUs they're doing. So, anyway.
Where would you, what do you guys see the business in the next 5 to 10 years? Where would you like to see it?
We talked this last night. So 5 years, we would like to have, what do we say, every major metro that meets our criteria in the state of Alabama at a minimum. And then 10 years, we would like to have the entire Southeast, South Carolina, North Carolina, Georgia, Florida, Alabama, Tennessee, Mississippi, Arkansas, maybe Louisiana. We count that sometimes. LSU, anyway. So we would like to have all the major metros in those areas that meet our criteria, that that we're going into them, and make sure they can support a business like ours. Make sure there's good, healthy competition, so we can beat the pants off of them politely, and but really make a dent in people's lives and help them see what a good quality, consistent quality clean. It might cost more than what you're paying for the other people, but you get what you pay for, and there's a
Good
reason.
Quality and consistency.
And you get fun people to talk to like me. It's a bonus.
Love it. Going a little more towards the software side of it with Booking Koala specifically, what role is, tech playing for your business? I know you have all these different software, so it's somewhat, but how big is it for you guys to have that?
It's over 50% of what we do every day. So Booking Koala, I have two main softwares that we that I open every day. One of them is Go High Level, and it's a particular version of that called CleanWorks that we have. And the other one is Booking Koala. And Booking Koala takes care of everything that I need. I can manage my cleaners. I can store their documents. I can collect payments. I can make sure the splits are done. I can make sure that the refunds are done. I can look at reports. I can do hiring. I can do emails, all sorts of things out of that platform that just makes everything a lot easier to deal with than having numerous systems that have to talk to each other through Zapier or something. You want to have one point of failure ideally, and then a backup. But I haven't had any issues with Booking Koala, frankly, ever, especially when it comes to like server load or lag or anything like that I've noticed. That are some traditional things happen, and the more you have APIs and zaps and stuff, the more things could go sideways on you. So it is a major part of our business. I use it every day. And then the things that it doesn't do, whether design or maybe future growth, we integrate that with CleanWorks. So like the text messages and phone calls all come in through that. And when I have a deal in or a quote or whatever, it communicates to that. And then we go back and forth on, making sure that both systems are updated to who called back, who texted this, are we closed, are we open, all these different systems and workflows and automations that make life a whole lot easier than it would be, even 5 years ago. So technology just grows massively every month, honestly. I never thought I would be, looking at chat GTP bots or some sort of AI platform that's going to do sales calls. But that's what I was looking at this morning. So I was just like, how does that work? And what is that? So our tech stack is not too deep because we try to keep it simple, and we don't want to spend a lot of money in other places. But Booking Koala is the main component of our business, and without it, we couldn't function.
And when you guys started the business, was it the first software you went with, or did you try something else and then you came to us?
We looked at other things, but it was the first one we went with. We looked at Jobber, and I think Home Services or something with the word home in it.
House Call Pro.
House Call Pro. There you go. But the simplicity of setting up Booking Koala, and also the ability to have the business structure that Johnny and Sergio gave us through HSA, and just being able to say, hey, clone this, and then we'll tweak it, made setup a breeze. And then, of course, a lot of the education and learning that Booking Koala has built into its platform, and the plethora of information that is available. So if you don't know how to do something, or if, the hardest part was like integrating Stripe, and then that wasn't that hard anyway. Yeah. So
expediency was definitely the name of the game when we started. It was like we had to have this done yesterday because of our circumstance, and so
we wanted to, for sure.
We both looked, we sat down and we went over all the options, and it was very obvious to both of us, and that's based on our experience. This is not the first software we've implemented.
If I just do our software evaluations.
So we've done a few software evaluations, so we did have that in our pockets, but it was pretty obvious, pretty quick.
And honestly, when we're doing software evaluations, like I used to run a tech company, and it was like, okay, well, let's look at help desk software, and let's manage all these different systems, and does it have remote management capabilities? Is it built in? Is it free? What about antivirus? All this kind of stuff. And you're generally dealing with somebody else's money, but in this case, I'm dealing with my money. Yeah. So, I'm like, okay, what's the best bang for the buck, and what's going to be, easiest to get us off the ground, that puts us head and shoulders above even people who use Jobber. And that was Booking Koala.
Yep.
So what were some of the features or what drew you into using it? Would it be the expediency that you had and the ease of kind of setting it up? And I use ease in your case because you have experience with other softwares. I know it's been tricky for others because it's very feature rich, and there's a lot of things that it's very customizable. You can run a cleaning service 100 different ways. It's not cookie cutter, and that's what we're tailored to is how you want to run it.
Yeah,
you can.
To answer that, for example, like we have partnerships with other cleaning companies that do different things than what we do, like a steam cleaning service. A friend of mine started. He was like, hey, I got an idea. And I'm like, oh, you're right. So like I could go in and like build a new, form. I could start a new industry. So office cleaning, steam cleaning, home cleaning, whatever, and, have it all on, one booking page or separate or whatever. That was massive for us to be able to like just the adaptability of it. And, I don't know if I could start a photography business. Looks like I'd make one too. So there's that. But, the reports were great. The forms, I did.
Client management.
Yeah, the client management in terms of that. I love that the building the website, especially like we used a custom website, but have the booking page, and then could pull in the reviews that we got, that were pushed out. So number one, you have in-system reviews, and then number two, you have it where they can like, say, hey, I want to do it to Yelp and Google and whatever else. So they could like one-stop shopping instead of having to go to multiple platforms to talk about how great of a service you are. They could do it all for one spot. And the client portal is fantastic. They can go in there and reschedule stuff. If you set it up, they can cancel it. I don't do it that way because I want to talk to them and find out why they're canceling it, if it's a true cancellation or just a rescheduling. To be like, oh, I'm going to go on vacation. And I'm like, okay, well, we're just going to postpone that. Yeah. And we're not going to cancel. Looking at that, some of the coupons, like there's a built-in like Facebook coupon on the booking page that, gives us a code and stuff like that. That's nice. The gift cards are fantastic, where I can actually like earn like the referral program basically. So you can earn referral credits as you are spreading the word about how great things are going. They get 50, you get 50, that kind of thing, which we still have operational, and had a few people take advantage of it.
Your customers.
Yeah, my customers. Yeah. So they'll log in, and I'll say, by the way, we have a referral program. So if you go into your portal, look up at the top, and it says like, I think gift card thing is what it says. The gift card, I can't remember what it says right now. It's under, I have to log in as them to look at it, but, and they can give, a referral, and then they earn credits, and then how that structure works. And like, it's not just like free money. It's also, be like, well, this happens after the other client's booked and done, So we like that. I like the the different views,
Mhm.
especially the map view of like all the bookings, because we have different industries and locations and stuff. So I can see like, okay, we have all these things this week. Or like one of our VAs, she doesn't live in my state. She doesn't know anything about, geographic Alabama. She had to Google an address and be like, okay, how long is it going to take to get from here to here? And is enough time between these cleans, all that kind of stuff, right? So that's helpful for her to get a visual rather than just a, this is the jobs on the schedule. Being able to like save a quote or have, a draft is fantastic, because I can like, okay, well, her and I had a conversation. She's going to talk to her husband. I'm not ready to send her a quote because I don't know her square footage, and her house is on Zillow, so I can't guess based off of realtor.com or whatever. Another thing was the tracking for the tracking for the providers. So like turn on the fact that I can track them from like when they hit on the way, or and when they get there, they clock in, how long it takes, what the travel time is. You can really lock down on, not necessarily if they're doing anything funny, but just like, are they clicking on the way when they're on the way? Or are they clicking on the way, sitting in the parking lot, and then 3 minutes later they clock in? Because you can tell that from the stamps. But it's something you can dig into if they're following the process or not, and it gives you the ability to do that. Also under bookings, looking at the checklist progress and then the media. So the job media, I didn't realize this because I'm busy, but looking at like an overview of like all the jobs in the media, and just being able to download everything to my Google Drive, and then start looking for marketing opportunities to use it to do before and after, or stuff like that, was massive. Instead of having to go to every job and be like, click, click. And the fact you can do video now, fantastic.
Videos, yeah, that's great.
Because we'll do videos and upload the video, and then we'll go through the video and like screenshot like certain things like on the phone, and then send those as individual pictures for like, we clean the microwave. And it's faster to do the video and then crop it later, or take out the pictures later. At least the cleaners say that. We'll have to see. So I love all those features, frankly. I haven't used download CSV yet, so I'll have to let you know. But
the provider.
the provider app, chef's kiss, fantastic.
Yeah, and I use it weekly because I do a clean weekly, and so I use the provider app, and I'm just like, this is fantastic. Like, so, and coming from like the marketing side of things too, is just like, I've looked at a lot of softwares in my time for like client management and marketing softwares and stuff like that, and just the cleanliness of the design is great. The usability of it, just being able to see everything that you need to see,
the button colors.
But yeah, it's just the usability, and just like it's just
it was almost like Apple designed it, like where they do it like where they design it with the end user in mind, and then work backwards. That's how I would take like that. So it is done to be efficient.
It is very user friendly. Like it's intuitive.
Yeah, and I'm happy that has it, because I don't,
because I've had.
Because I've used it when we go places, and the cleaners use it. Obviously, when then when something happens and they're like, "Hey, clock me out" or whatever, I'm like, "Okay, I'm gonna go in and look at this," and I can see what they're seeing because I have the app on my phone. I have like a test account as a cleaner, but then also, I can look on my end and be like, "Okay, well, it clocks you out for whatever, and let's reclock you in and fix it or whatever." So the ability to have safety and controls is also great, from the admin side, to see kind of what happened, and you can override things if you really want to. So I like it.
If you guys ever end up selling your cleaning company and you want to come be sales for us, that was chef's kiss. I gotta say, I don't think I could have done better.
But that's why I keep getting hired, I guess.
You kind of knocked out all my next question for sure. What's one feature that you can't live without? One of the features.
We're doing a vlog. There you go.
All of them. All of them.
All the things.
One feature that you're got your eye on the wish list. that's upcoming.
I wish that I didn't have to have a second software and that you had basically the communication platform for like inbound, outbound texting and phone calls built into that and into your platform. So
Client.
so I don't have to use CleanWorks and y'all. I can just use y'all. So like they use Twilio and stuff like that. So as their phone provider, if you will, so you can grab a number from them and stuff like that. Log all the calls, communicate back and forth. You can, I don't usually email any of our clients from that, although you can. But yeah, I mean, it's basically
a full one platform
yeah.
solution.
One
awesome.
throat choke would be great.
Yeah.
So two.
Yeah.
It's as a old software, not old software. He'd kill me if he said that. I used to work for a software company in Canada, and it'd be like, hey, we're spending, our clients are spending, so much of their other, basically, revenue resources on other things like, phone systems or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, he'd call it wallet share. So he'd like, if they have $1 in their wallet, we're only getting 10 cents.
Yeah.
But what if we get 70?
Yeah.
What development cost and what acquisitions we have to make to do that. Or so, it's fun to have an operational brain and also a sales brain because you can look at things from multiple sides. But that was one thing. That would be the one thing for me I would suggest is, communication platform.
We will discuss that more. Absolutely.
Right. You got my number.
Absolutely. My last two questions for you guys are more fun than anything else.
Oh,
Nothing
great, okay.
specific. First, are you guys happy? Just overall in life, not business, not person, just is everything. Are you guys happy where you're at?
Yes.
Yes.
We have had a lot of hard knocks, as we have mentioned, and some we haven't mentioned.
Yeah.
I'll mention it now. So during all that, like right after my daughter was born in 2021, yeah, like the next year.
Well, it was before.
My father died, basically.
Yeah.
So,
Sorry to hear that.
So instead of saying it's fine, I'll say, if he's any happier, he'd be with Jesus. So he is, and that's what I believe. But yes, we are. Life throws a lot at you. Social media throws a lot at you. All the talking heads will continue to talk, but we try our hardest to cultivate gratitude and just be thankful and gracious, and not just at Thanksgiving, but every day when I'm like, I can't believe that, we left a streak on that window or whatever, I mean, that was something I was slacking about earlier. It's like, hey, we just need to go back and clean it. No big deal. But I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful to have that other, conversation I had with that client who is, uh, very influential, and I can make it right,
Mm-hmm.
So there's good and bad in everything from human terms, but I'm grateful.
Yeah, we've been through a lot, and we haven't always been happy. And I myself had many years of struggle with mental health, depression, and things of that nature, and been through a lot. And yeah, that cultivation of gratitude and just really focusing on your priorities and what you value, and like keeping those things in the forefront and keeping them in check has really, really gotten me and us through a lot of things.
Yeah.
And
then you got to figure out how to be a parent. That's fun too. Like, I'm going to mess my kid up by saying, no, don't stick your finger in that. I don't know. We'll find out, I guess.
Yeah. So, yeah. But the one thing is, the flexibility, it's not black and white thinking, many things can be true at the same time.
Sure.
And just knowing that, like, even though things might be hard, it doesn't necessarily mean it's bad. And we just try to like think for the pot. We don't want to invalidate or not value those experiences.
Because we're all good.
But
like failure is the greatest teacher, 1,000%.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Because I have failed so many times, and I'm harder on myself than anybody ever could be. Whether it be, building an account management program at a startup, or building a cleaning company from the ground up and hoping I'm doing it right and following, the teachings and preachings of some guys I don't know in California. It always gives you scarcity and failure give you an opportunity to pick yourself back up off the mat and to innovate.
Mm-hmm.
And I innovate every day. So, today it was to innovate how to get chocolate milk.
Right. Yeah.
Not for me.
Not for him.
So, final question. What advice would you both give to your 10-year-old selves?
Go ahead, honey. I'll let you start with that one, because mine's going to be a dose of reality.
Okay. My 10-year-old self, I would tell myself that you don't have to do all the things. You don't have to do them all, and that's okay.
For me, my 10-year-old self, I would say have fun while you can, because grown-up life isn't always it's not, you don't have it all figured out. You're just older and still confused.
Yeah, we're all living for the first time.
Good point.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and yeah, that's I would say. I mean, I can get into other things, but the 10-year-olds, you don't really care.
Yeah. I love both those answers. I love this whole interview, guys. It was an absolute pleasure to hear your story and for you to share with everybody everything that you've been through, everything that you're currently doing with your successful business 1 year in, and you guys are absolutely killing it and just doing it the way you want to do it, which is the right way, because it's your way. It's not, you're not following somebody else the way they set it out before. And sure, you're getting tips and ideas of how things can be done, but you're, as a partnership, you're doing it your way, and you're making it beautiful for yourselves and for your daughter as well. So I appreciate that. You guys have taught me a lot. That's the one thing that I come into these interviews myself, is so that I could always learn from the people that I speak with, and I have truly learned a lot from the both of you. So I do appreciate that so much.
Well, if you need any more sage advice, I was going to say something funny, but I forgot what it was going to be.
We'll talk Marvel next. We'll that's what we'll do.
Yeah, it's a little yeah.
We're not
Absolutely.
We're not afraid to get into the hard conversations, but
no, we're not.
We like to have fun too.
Yeah. Everybody always has something going on, and then they talk about what I used to say. So everybody talks about, like, they brag about, like, the tattoo they have, or the they cut themselves as a kid, or the scars on their body, but don't talk about. And
I love it.
That helps us be more human, because we all have stuff we're dealing with, and if we can take some of that pain or energy and move that forward to move ourselves forward and take other people with us, then we will, and we are. So,
absolutely.
It's fun.
Again,
and enjoy at the same time.
Thank you so much for your time again. It was an absolute pleasure, and everybody else, take care as well. And until next week, every Monday we drop a new episode, so stay tuned and watch out for that.